side, pick it and come up with it. Through the middle, Julius Jones. Touchdown, Dallas. Larry Johnson goes all the way. Larry Johnson for the touchdown. Mason makes the catch for the touchdown. Eddie Kennison, touchdown. Daniel Graham, touchdown. Brady is going to just throw it up for grabs, and it's intercepted. Caught by Darius Thompson for the touchdown.
Do or die. Have to win.
There's some guys around here who have been in the playoffs and understand what must-win means, and you can spend the rest of your career waiting for this opportunity that you have right now and never get it again.
Tonight's challenge for the St. Louis Rams: win and keep their playoff hopes alive. Lose and forget about postseason. Can they beat the Philadelphia Eagles and continue what's been a month of manic Mondays?
Anything can happen, but a game like this with our backs against the wall, nobody's giving us a shot. You know, it's always fun. So just going to go out there and smile and make some plays and try to help my team win.
I don't know exactly what to say is next. What I do know is we have this game, and, and we got to win it. That's what I know.
U.S. of A. Hit it. Come on and hit it. Come on and get ready. Are you ready for some football? A Monday night tradition. The NFL Big Show, 35th edition. Al and John are ready. The whole country's psyched. All my ready friends are here for Monday night.
The Gateway Arch on the banks of the Mississippi River. The gateway to the West. St. Louis is the gateway to the NFC West, a division the St. Louis Rams still have an opportunity to win. As you look at the Edward Jones Dome, home of the Rams for 10 seasons now since they departed Southern California. And the Rams coming out onto the AstroTurf here in St. Louis before a full house to take on the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. I'm Al Michaels, John Madden, Michele Tafoya with me as well. And for the Rams, it's very simple. It's do or die. Lose tonight, out of the playoffs. Win tonight, they don't clinch. They're still alive. They'd have to beat the Jets as well next Sunday. They'd have to also get some help. We'll detail that during the game. But the big thing for them tonight is they get Mark Bulger back. The quarterback's missed the last 2 games with a sprained shoulder, and the Rams have, in a word, been dreadful in losses to Carolina and Arizona. They've dropped 6 of 8, but still alive for postseason. Now for Philadelphia, the exact opposite. 13-1, the #1 seed in the NFC. The road to the Super Bowl on the NFC side will have to go through Philadelphia. But as you all know, they lost Terrell Owens, who was having a spectacular season last week. And thus Coach Andy Reid may be a little gun-shy tonight. He'll start Donovan McNabb at quarterback, but it's only a token appearance. He's out early. Coy Detmer will quarterback the team most of the game. And Brian Westbrook, their great running back, he's fine. He's a picture of health, but he has been deactivated. They'll take no chances. Now, John, you've been in this situation before as a coach where you have to keep your team sharp, but then again, you worry about injuries. What do you think of Reid's strategy tonight?
I don't like it. I never did that. I always felt in a regular season game, we're not talking about a preseason game here, but in a regular season game, you played your best players and you go out to win the game. And you know the problem I would have with it, really, and the reason I never did it, is if you tell someone, okay, we don't want you to play because we don't want you to get hurt, what do you tell the other guys that are playing? Plus, I think that you want to be peaking as you go into the playoffs. I think shutting it down now is too early.
They won't play a meaningful game until the weekend of January 15th and 16th. Now, on the Rams side, clearly they're thrilled to have Mark Bulger back. Is that enough to get them over the hump tonight?
Well, it's a big part. I mean, when you have an Isaac Bruce on one side and a Torrey Holt on the other side, and you can vote 4 wide receivers and Marshall Faulk out of the backfield, you need the quarterback to throw it. If Mark Bulger can make the throws, those guys can get open. They can make the catches. But the big question is going to be pass protection. Can this offensive line pass protect so that Mark Bulger can make those plays?
Pretty fascinating matchup. One team with everything to lose tonight, the Rams. The other with nothing to lose, just trying to stay a little sharp and injury-free. Philadelphia and St. Louis on Monday Night Football. Here are tonight's FedEx Air and Ground stats. The Eagles' Donovan McNabb came into the weekend with the NFL's 3rd best quarterback rating, while Mark Bulger of the Rams checks in with a 10th best mark. On the ground, Dorsey Levens gets the start at running back for the Eagles, while Marshall Faulk leads the Rams in rushing once again. The Visa Skycam in the Dome in St. Louis tonight, providing the most dramatic and defining views of any camera in sports television. The Rams are ready. Mark Bulger is ready as the Rams take on the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Back in a moment.
ABC Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
The Dome in St. Louis as we conclude Week 16 of the National Football League season. Mark Bulger back in action, and the Rams quarterback is with Michele Tafoya. Michele.
Mark, you've been nursing a sprained right shoulder and a bruised collarbone. How do you think your play tonight will compare to what you were able to do before the injury?
I hope it's the same. You never know, but you know, once the game starts, I think adrenaline will take over, and it's sudden death for us, so it doesn't matter at this point.
You're playing an Eagles team whose defense gives up the fewest points in the NFL. Where do you see opportunities for success against these guys?
I think if we can pick up their blitzes and get those one-on-one matchups on the outside, we should be fine, but it's easy to say it. Now we have to go do it.
Yeah, you said this is a do or die, a must-win for you guys. You've been anything but consistent this season. Where is the collective confidence of this team?
We're still confident, but you know, we've been inconsistent, like you said. You know, we have to go out these next 2 games and win them both. If we don't, the season's over, and I think our older guys on this team realize that.
Mark, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Al, Mike Martz said that Mark Bulger has been the best quarterback he's had here in St. Louis, and that includes Kurt Warner. Al?
Thank you, Michele. Now, the overriding story in the league this weekend, the unexpected death of Reggie White at the age of 43 yesterday in North Carolina. Here's the public address announcer in St. Louis.
Rams fans, please join in a moment of silence in remembrance of former Philadelphia Eagle and Green Bay Packer, Reggie White. Reggie White played 8 seasons for the Eagles, where he recorded more sacks in games played. The only player in NFL history to achieve that record. In 1993, he went to the Green Bay Packers, where he helped Green Bay win a Super Bowl and where his jersey, number 92, was retired. He was selected to 13 consecutive Pro Bowls. And in 1994, Reggie White was selected to the NFL's 75th anniversary all-time team. Reggie White passed away yesterday at his home state of North Carolina. The Rams, the Eagles, and all in the NFL join with all Reggie's former teammates and fans in extending our prayers and sympathy to his family. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie, John, telling us before the game tonight that nobody will ever again wear number 92 in Philadelphia. They'll make that official in a ceremony sometime next season.
You know, it's just so hard to believe that Reggie White passed away, and you know, he was such a great player and even a better person. You know, every time you'd see him, he had a smile on his face, and you just thought that this guy was indestructible. He was going to go on forever, and he was, like I said, he was as good a guy off the field as he was great player on the field, and he's something special. This is a tough one, I think, for all of football.
Very, and of course so unexpected. I mean, with Walter Payton, he died much too young, obviously. But we knew he was sick. We didn't know what was going to happen. And this is just like a bolt out of the blue yesterday.
Yeah, and sometimes it makes you think that sometimes we forget our NFL alumni a little too quickly. You know, that we have to keep these guys in our game. You know, when they're out and they retire, they still have to be part of the game somehow. the NFL has to do, the clubs have to do, we all have to do a better job of that.
Green Bay Packers also announcing they'll retire Reggie's number. Clearly he'll be inducted very soon in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's eligible in 06. He's retired after the 2000 season. We'll detail Reggie's life at halftime tonight. David Akers to kick off to the St. Louis Rams. The Rams are last in the league in kickoff return average. Their special teams have been terrible this year. And from the 6-yard line, this is Avion Cason, former Dallas Cowboy. Bringing it up to the 27-yard line. Here are the St. Louis starters.
Mark Bolger, West Virginia University.
Marshall Faulk, San Diego State.
Joey Goodspeed, Notre Dame.
Torrey Big Game Hope, North Carolina State.
Isaac Bruce, University of Memphis.
Brandon Manueliuna, Arizona.
Orlando Pace, The Ohio State University.
Tom Newton, Western Michigan University.
Andy McCollum, Toledo. Adam Timmerman, South Dakota State.
Blaine Tafoya, Colorado State.
That offensive line, which at the beginning of the year was such a strength of this team with all of the injuries and changes, they've created a lot of flux. And at the core of a lot of their problems is Marshall Faulk. Gains 3 up to the 30. The Eagles have allowed the fewest points in the league this season. Here's their starting defense.
Javon Curse, University of Florida.
Corey Simon, Florida State University.
Sam Rayburn, Tulsa.
Don Walker, University of Tennessee.
Dhani Jones, established 1817, the University of Michigan.
Jeremiah Trotter, Stephen F. Austin State University.
Mark Seminoff, Kansas State.
Lito Shepard, Florida.
Michael Lewis, Colorado.
Brian Dawkins, Clemson.
Sheldon Brown, South Carolina.
Half those guys accompanied by the graphic saying Pro Bowl selection. The Eagles with a total of 9, and this is Steven Jackson, their #1 draft choice, who comes in on the second play after 4 carries on the first to the 42. Jackson was active last week, inactive the week before, but did not play a single play against Arizona. Makes his presence known right here with a 28-yarder.
And the Eagles play for an inside run. Watch Jeremiah Trotter. They all get caught up to the inside. They're playing for that inside run or the pass rush. They're in a nickel defense. They only had 2 linebackers. Watch Jeremiah Trotter in there. The way he hits that inside run, and you see how tight they were playing in there. And Steven Jackson just came up there, let them all get bunched in there, and then bounced out to the left.
So the Rams start with 2 runs, good for 31 total yards. And on a draw, this is Jackson taking it to the 40-yard line. Rookie out of Oregon State. He's tackled by Sam Rayburn. Clearly, Marshall Faulk is phenomenal. He'll be a Hall of Famer. But right now, Marshall into his 30s, injuries, bad knees, missed a couple of games. Clearly, he's going to slow down to the point where you have to think about a successor. And Steven Jackson might not be that kind of a back, but he's going to be their primary back soon.
And he's a very good runner right now, a much better runner than Marshall Faulk. But his problem is in the passing game, both running pass routes and pass protection.
Now 2nd down and 7 from the 40-yard line. And the Rams, a passing team, open the game with 4 straight runs, and Jackson takes it to the 31-yard line, where he's tackled by Pro Bowler Lito Shepard.
You know, these fans love that because that's what they want Mike Martz to do. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, he'll start passing, he'll pass the whole game, and then he'll forget about the run. But when he starts off like this and just pounds right at him, watch Adam Timmerman here. He's going to pull around, and he's going to get Jeremiah Trotter. Now, the Eagles have been much better against the run since Jeremiah Trotter, who, by the way, is in the Pro Bowl, has started as a middle linebacker.
Now 1st and 10, and Jackson on a 5th consecutive run, and he gets taken down by Dhani Jones. And John, one other thing as we look at the Philadelphia defenders right now, we talked about McNabb playing sparingly, Westbrook inactive, and defensively they're going to hold some of the guys out too. Javon Curse starts the game in a baseball cap on the sideline.
Right, and Javon Curse, of course, is the most dominant front 4 man that they have, and so you take him out of their defense and you take Donovan McNabb out of their offense, and they're kind of playing with a half a loaf here.
There is Curse. Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator, when I asked him yesterday, I said, who's the guy you could least afford to lose? He named Curse. 7.5 sacks. Faulk is back in the game. 2nd down and 10 from the 31-yard line, and Marshall gets it. to the 25-yard line. So the Rams open with 6 straight running plays.
Yeah, I think Mike Martz told us the other day that he'd like to play Marshall Faulk and Steven Jackson 50-50, but he said what he'd like to do is have Marshall in there for the passing plays and have Steven Jackson in there for the running plays. But you can't do that every time, and I think that's what he's trying to get the mixture now, that he'll run with either one of these guys.
Last week in the entire game at Arizona, granted they were trailing through much of the game, they ran only 10 times in the game for 22 total yards. And now you've got Douglas coming across the line, so this is a free play, and it's Faulk. And Marshall says, who's old? To the 13-yard line, first down, tackled by Sheldon Brown.
Yeah, he still has some bounce and some cuts in those legs, doesn't he, on this AstroTurf? I'll tell you one thing, I think the Eagles are getting a little shocked here that they didn't come in ready for a fight, and they're getting a fight from this Ram offense. I think if you don't come in ready as a defense, ready to hit and be hit, and they just take it right at you the way the Rams are now, this is what happens. This Eagle defense is just standing and catching, and they're getting caught off balance.
1st and 10 at the 13-yard line. 10.5 to go in the opening period, opening drive of the game in St. Louis. Stay on the ground. Faulk. And this is really something. Now with Philadelphia, you know, as I said, they don't have anything to lose. They're the #1 seed. But Jim Johnson telling us last night, defensive coordinator, it's a source of immense pride to this team to be able to lead the league in fewest points allowed.
Yeah, that's their #1 goal all the time. And I think that with Jim Johnson, that's a great combination where you have very aggressive defense. You do a lot of blitzing, but they don't score touchdowns on you. You don't give up big plays. Well, the Rams right now are just ramming it right down their throats.
2nd down and 4 from the 7-yard line. Jackson is the running back. He gets it. Takes it to the 5-yard line. 3rd down, about 1.5 yards upcoming after a 9th straight running play to open the game.
You know, and Jackson should be, you know, a better short yardage runner because he's about 20 pounds bigger than Marshall Faulk. And, you know, he has the speed to get to the outside, and he has the size and power to run the thing inside.
6'2", 231. Faulk is 5'10", and about 211. Third down, short 2. And run number 10 is a Jackson touchdown. Something you almost never see, a 10-play drive, all runs, and a touchdown.
Right, and the Eagles come on a run blitz this time. You see Adam Timmerman, he bounces his guy, then he comes off, and Dahani Jones and Steven Jackson runs right off Adam Timmerman's block.
Jeff Wilkins, one of the best in the league. Wilkins in his 11th season bangs it through, so the drive consumes nearly 6 minutes. 10 runs, 73 yards, 7-0 Rams. Monday Night Football brought to you by Budweiser, the bright color and crisp, clean taste you'll only find in the king of beers. And Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. Get ready for the game. Aerial coverage tonight on this clear and very chilly night in St. Louis is provided by Budweiser. St. Louis, home of Anheuser-Busch Gateway Arch. Symbol of St. Louis. Steven Jackson didn't play last week. The Rams this season 27th in the league in rush yards per game, averaging 98, and tonight 73 on the opening drive. Jeff Wilkins to kick off. Eagles will get the ball for the first time in the game. Taken in at the 11-yard line. And up to the 37-yard line goes Roderick Hood. So the Eagles will take over at that spot with 8:58 remaining in the opening period. And St. Louis on top by a touchdown. The exterior of the Edward Jones Dome. They built this for the Rams enticing an NFL team to move here, and the Rams came in '95. From Los Angeles, look around the building as the Eagles take over at their own 37. Now, as we mentioned at the top, Donovan McNabb will start, but won't be around that long. And hands the ball off to Dorsey Levens with Westbrook inactive tonight. That's a nice start for Philadelphia on a 12-yard run. Here's the Philly offense.
Donovan McNabb, Syracuse University.
Dorsey Levens, Georgia Tech.
Josh Perry, San Jose State.
Todd Pixton, Southern Miss.
Freddie Mitchell, the People's Champ, UCLA.
Chad Lewis, BYU.
Artis Hicks, Memphis.
Steve Shulo, Marshall.
Hank Fraley, Robert Morris University.
Alonzo Eufel, Alabama.
John Runyon, Michigan.
Trey Thomas not starting at left tackle tonight. Returned home to Philadelphia on a personal matter, so he is inactive. And on the second play, it's Dorsey Levens, the ex-Packer, going next to nowhere as Leonard Little makes the tackle. John, you look at their inactives tonight. Westbrook, Trey Thomas, Jermaine Mabry, Terrell Owens, Derek Burgess. 2 Pro Bowlers and some pretty good players there.
That's what I said. That's a definition of a half a loaf that they're playing with tonight. But you know, I was just thinking of what Mike March told us yesterday. He said we want to come out and initially shock them, and he did that.
He shocked them not only by going in for a touchdown, but doing it entirely on the ground. Second down and 11 from the 48-yard line. Levens again. He tries the left side, gets across the 50 to the 47-yard line. Let's take a look at the Ram defense.
Leonard Little, Tennessee.
Ryan Pickett, The Ohio State University.
Jimmy Kennedy, Penn State.
Anthony Hardrow, Port Charlotte High School. Tommy Pollard, Florida State.
Robert Thomas, UCLA.
Pisatino Samoa, Hawaii.
Demetrius Butler, Dallas Carter High School.
Adam Archuleta, Arizona State.
Antoine Edwards, Clemson.
Travis Fisher, Dobbin High School.
Demetrius Butler, left corner. He has 5 interceptions this season. The Rams have a total of only 6.
Donovan McNabb looks like he's audibilizing here. He said last night he didn't think he would throw a pass in this game.
But he will, and on 3rd down and 6, that pass is complete, and just enough apparently for a first down. He puts it down just across the yellow line, and that's Greg Lewis, and he's one of the guys that's going to have to step up. Todd Pinkston has been there for a while, so has Freddie Mitchell, and Greg Lewis will now get his opportunity in the absence of Owens.
Now you see Donovan McNabb here making his audible. He sees the Rams are all bunched there. He has 3 wide receivers. He moves Dorsey Levens out to the left, knows that he has to get rid of the ball quickly, but the Eagles do a good job of picking up the blitz.
First down at the 41-yard line. Levens. You know, in a way, I'm almost beginning to think that McNabb's playing a lot more than we would have thought. We knew he was coming out early. He was kidding last night when we were talking to him about playing only 1 series. He said, I may not even get to 3rd down.
That's what he said. He may just hand off 1, hand off 2, and come out on 3rd. But I think with this good field position, I think Andy Reid is probably having a change of heart here. Not that he's going to play Donovan McNabb a lot more, but maybe a little more, and see if he can get him a score here. Because again, like I said, this is still NFL football. It's still regular season, and your goal always has to be to win the game. Second down and 10 from the 40-yard line. And they give it to Levens to the 37-yard line. McNabb, and he'll play very little tonight and probably very little next week against Cincinnati, but a tremendous season. He completed 24 consecutive passes over a 2-game span. That's a record. Eagles single-game record 464 against the Packers, and 5 games with 4 or more touchdown passes. Phenomenal year, and clearly had he been playing in both tonight's game and Cincinnati's game all the way, he'd be way over 4,000 yards. But we have to remember that Terrell Owens was also a very big part of that. Tremendous part. Levens breaks tackles, and Dorsey has a first down as he gets to the 30-yard line. We will see, as I mentioned before, Coy Detmer, who's been their backup quarterback, and Detmer has been an Eagle for a lot of seasons. Out of the University of Colorado, Detmer will be coming in at some point, we would assume, on the second series. You know, who would have thought in this game there's been 17 plays, 16 runs, and 1 pass? Because these are 2 coaches, and Andy Reid and Mike March, that love to throw the ball. And once they get into a rhythm of throwing it, they don't go back to the run a lot. So 17 plays in the game and only 1 pass, and now Reno Mahe comes in
to the game. He and Levens will be the backups in the absence of Westbrook. And God bless Woody Hayes. How much would Woody Hayes have enjoyed this? An NFL game with 18 plays and 17 runs.
3 yards in a cloud of dust, although you don't get much dust out of artificial turf. What Woody used to say, that when you pass the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad.
Yeah.
Something like that, or maybe more bad. I mean, you can get sacked, you can have the ball tipped, you can throw an interception.
He was just thinking of incompletions and interceptions and not even thinking about the sack. And a sack fumble. 2nd down and 7 now from the 27-yard line. And another run, and this is Mahi, who gets taken down in the backfield by the tackle Jimmy Kennedy.
Yeah, they have Jimmy Kennedy in there, and they think that he's really helped their defense because he's a bigger guy. I mean, he weighs 320 pounds. Then you see him, he's right here, and everything has to be controlled. If you're going to stop the run, you have to get playing on that side of the line of scrimmage. That's exactly what he does, and then he lets Bryce Fisher come and catch it from behind. But again, it all started with Jimmy Kennedy getting penetration.
3rd down and 9 now from the 29-yard line. Come up in a passing formations, 3 wide receivers. Rams with the extra defensive back. And McNabb throwing screen. Levens, Dorsey Levens is inside the 20, has a 1st down, and will have a 1st and goal to the 6-yard line as Adam Archuleta makes the tackle. And Donovan McNabb will wind up playing most of the 1st quarter.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's a competitor, and he wanted to play. I mean, he wanted to play the whole game, so this is something, he has something going here, and there's no way that he wants to come out. He got the run going, has a run going, and they get in a passing situation, and he throws the screen pass to Dorsey Levens. Dorsey looks like he's rejuvenated. You know, I thought a couple years ago that he may be close to being finished, but he looks like a new man in this offense.
McNabb's been terrific in the red zone this season, cashing in time after time. Levens, you look at a guy like Levens, John, and you're right. I mean, 2 years ago, you said, boy, he looks like he's shot. And then he looks rejuvenated. And then every time I look at Jerome Bettis, I keep thinking I'm back in like 1998.
That's what big does. I mean, Jerome Bettis is so big and so strong and then has quick feet. I mean, those things usually don't go together. I mean, it's usually big and strong and a plotter. But big and strong and quick feet, that's a heck of a combination.
11-play drive, over 7 minutes after the Rams on all runs scored first. 2nd and goal, under 2 minutes to play in the opening period. And McNabb with a pump fake, throws over the middle, caught by Freddie Mitchell for a touchdown. That is only the 2nd touchdown reception by a Philadelphia wide receiver this season, other than anybody named Owens.
With Terrell Owens out, there's going to have to be a lot more of these. I think this, Andy Reid didn't mean to do this, but I think this is good for the Eagle offense, good for the Eagle team, good for Donovan McNabb. And you say, why does it need it? Because working with someone else other than Terrell Owens and seeing that a Freddie Mitchell can get open and score for you.
David Akers for the extra point. So McNabb averaging about 2 touchdown passes per game. Sonny Jurgensen holds the team mark at 32. That's Donovan's 31st of the year to tie the game. A week from Saturday, the playoffs begin, and they start right here with a doubleheader on ABC. First game will be at 4:30 Eastern time. Second game at 8 o'clock that night Eastern time. As the playoffs begin, one AFC game, one NFC game right here on. Kickoff is taken by Avion Kason. He brings it to the 30-yard line. Rams will have it for the 2nd time. Their first drive resulting in an all-rushing TD march. Jackson scored. McNabb counters with Freddie Mitchell. 7-7. ESPN Sunday Night Football. That'll be the final game of the regular season. January 2nd, this coming Sunday, as the Dallas Cowboys take on the New York Giants. So the Rams now come up with an empty backfield as they split Marshall Faulk in the wide receiver spot, and then it's an inside handoff, so they still run out of a pass formation as Marshall Faulk picks up about 8 yards to the 39-yard line. This season, only 2 such drives with St. Louis and the Rams tonight. Rams going 10 plays, all runs. And last week it was San Diego doing it against Cleveland. And of course, one of the reasons San Diego did it last week against Cleveland was the field conditions. They were playing on a snow-covered field. So that would figure. But tonight the Rams opt on this very fast surface to keep it all on the ground. Bolger is yet to throw a pass. Here it comes. And it's complete. And it's caught by Torrey Holt in the final minute of the first quarter, tackled by Brown in the first down.
I was just wondering about Mark Bulger because he said he had to get that shoulder warmed up. He has a collarbone bruise and a shoulder AC joint, and he said that he has to get it warmed up, get the adrenaline going. I thought with all that running, he hasn't thrown a ball since the warm-ups, and that's the first one he throws is a short slant.
Bulger taking over when Kurt Warner's days became numbered. Warner going out,
right here,
and Bulger is the future. From the 49-yard line, Eagles with a run blitz, and then a pass is thrown out in the flat to Joey Goodspeed. And Goodspeed, some hard running to the 45-yard line, breaking out of a Lito Shepherd tackle. And that will be the end of about the fastest quarter in memory in any NFL game in recent times. Almost all runs on both sides. 7-7 at the end of one, and Monday Night Football from St. Louis continues after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Michele Tafoya in St. Louis as you look at the two head coaches. Andy Reid, another phenomenal season for Philadelphia. Mike Martz has taken his team to one Super Bowl, and he hopes with some luck he can at least get into postseason. But again, the Rams must win tonight. Game tied 7-7. 2nd and 6 as we begin the second period. And a little action up front. Adam Timmerman may have started early. Pete Morelli, whose crew has barely been seen tonight.
Prior to the snap, false start, 62 offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Talking about the Rams. Now, to get into the playoffs, they have to win both of their games tonight and against the Jets here next week. Very key game for both teams, in effect, if the Rams win tonight. Then to win the division, Seattle would have to lose next week. They play Atlanta in Seattle, but to get a wild card, they can have either Minnesota losing or Carolina and New Orleans ending in a tie, and they can get in as a wild card. As Brandon Manu makes the catch and is taken out of bounds at the 46-yard line. But clearly, John, the one thing they know they have to do is win both games, and they're doing them both at home, playing them both at home, where they've been considerably more successful than on the road.
Right, and that's the thing that Mark Bulger talked, you know, to Michele about before the game, that all we know is that we have 2 games, and we know if we're going to have a chance, we have to win both of those games.
And then get a little bit of help, and they can, again, if they wind up as the division champion, they win and Seattle loses next week, they would even host a game.
Well, that's a disappointing thing about it is they put themselves in this situation. I mean, Bulger was hurt, but they played lousy against Arizona last week. They stunk.
And against Carolina the week before as well, as Kevin Curtis makes the catch, and he's tackled by Brian Dawkins, who will be going to his 4th Pro Bowl.
And they get this 4th down situation, and the fans are saying, go for it, go for it. Mike Martz is saying, yeah, we'll go for a punt is what we're going to go for.
It's that old line, you start listening to the fans, pretty soon you're sitting with them.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of truth in that, too. And, you know, I mean, it's not like 4th and inches. We're talking 4th and a couple here. And this is a play. This is what you have to do. Now they do have some fakes in this game plan, too. I know that.
And with Wilkins back there, they can fake it here, and certainly they do, as Wilkins, who can throw the ball, proves his prowess right there. But it is intercepted at the 10-yard line, and now the Eagles want it to be not intercepted so that they will get the ball much farther back upfield. Dexter Wynn comes down with the ball and is also hurt.
If he intercepts that ball, though, that's a big play for the Rams, because that's better than the punt. Wilkins is their normal field goal kicker. They put him in like the punter because he's the better passer, and he was going to throw that ball to Dane Looker.
And clearly what happens here, Andy Reid might challenge. I mean, this is bizarre. You intercept the pass, but you really don't want the pass intercepted. You'd much rather have this be an incomplete pass.
Oh, and well, that's not that ball came out.
That ball's moving around, and it looks like Andy Reid is going to challenge this play, because clearly it's far more beneficial for the Eagles to have it ruled incomplete than to be picked off. So it's one of these bizarre cases where you don't want an interception, you want an incompletion.
Right, and you'll pick up about 35, about 30 yards on that.
And there's a flag down as well at the 37-yard line, so you have a penalty and a possible challenge.
I tell you, that didn't fool the Eagles at all, because not only was Dane Looker covered, he was double covered.
Number 57. The penalty is declined. The ruling on the field, the ball was intercepted. First down, Philadelphia.
Now Andy Reid has the option here of challenging. He can challenge, and they'll get a commercial break to decide whether to challenge. We're back, and as suggested before the commercial break, the guys upstairs calling down to Andy Reid. He does challenge.
The ruling on the field that the ball was not caught or intercepted.
So here's the deal. We've been looking at this in commercial. This is a pretty interesting play here. Everything about this play, as we start to look at the replays, will suggest that the ball hits the ground, but do you ever really see it hit the ground? So when intercepts, he collides with Lito Shepherd. He's juggling the ball clearly, doesn't have possession. He comes down, you see the ball, and it's loose, and you would think everything else suggests that the ball hits the AstroTurf, but do you ever really see it hit the ground? And that's what Pete Morelli is going to have to see.
I think I saw it. Now, it could be my imagination, but I think that I did see it hit the ground. I would say that he will rule that an incomplete pass, because I think right there. See it? Yeah. See it come out right there?
Well, it's coming out, and then you see his forearm.
After reviewing the play, the receiver did not maintain control of the pass. The interception's incomplete. Philadelphia will take over 1st and 10 from the previous spot.
So what Morelli had to see there, too, we know for certain he doesn't maintain control of the ball. We know that as it's moving around. But the question becomes now, as I say, did it hit the ground or not? And Morelli must have felt it did hit the ground. And thus, instead of the ball being taken at the 10, it goes to the 41. And the kid who intercepted it, Dexter Wynn, the rookie out of Colorado State, he has his first career interception. It's on Monday Night Football, and his coach just took it away from him.
Right, and his teammate runs into him before his coach takes it away from him. But he did what he had to. You know, there are people say it's 4th down, you should knock it down, don't intercept it. Anytime the ball's in the air, you're a defensive back, you have to go for the interception in that situation.
So McNabb is out, and as we told you before, Coy Detmer will come in and quarterback them most of the rest of the way. And Dorsey Levens with a flag down because it was moving along the line before the play. Takes it to the 48-yard line momentarily, the 48 of St. Louis. 31-yard successful challenge for Andy Reid.
I wonder how many of those there have ever been in the history of challenges. That could be the first, huh?
79 defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
Top 10 unusual challenges. So Donovan McNabb went the entire first drive, led him to a touchdown. Perfect numbers, 3 out of 3 to 36 and a touchdown. And out he comes. He'll get the rest of the night off and probably play about as much next week in the finale against Cincinnati.
Right, and the one thing that they do is he still gets half the reps. Usually the starting quarterback gets all the reps, but he's still practicing like he's going to play and just not playing.
That's Levens for a couple. Also, John, it's not like baseball where you have to pitch 5 innings to get the win. He's the starting quarterback, so if the Eagles win tonight, he gets another W chalked up.
Right, and I'll tell you right now, just knowing Donovan McNabb and knowing Coy Detmer, he is really rooting for Coy Detmer. Coy Detmer is one of the most popular guys on this team. Everyone loves this little guy.
Played his college ball at Colorado. He's been with the Eagles since coming out of college, 7th-round pick. This is Levens to the 41. His brother, Ty, played at Brigham Young and has been with several teams. And right now, his brother is the number 3 quarterback behind Michael Vick and company in Atlanta. And Coy has been an Eagle. He had his greatest moment on Monday Night Football 2 years ago. McNabb suffered the fractured ankle. They had to go to San Francisco for a big game. Detmer played brilliantly, and then he dislocated his elbow in the 3rd quarter, and he came out.
Right. He's a very bright guy. He knows how to play the game. His dad is a coach. He gets rid of the ball quickly and makes great decisions.
3rd down and 3. Reno Mahe. And he's tackled at the line of scrimmage, or a little behind it, by DeJuan Gross, forcing a punt.
I tell you, the Rams were really playing run on that one. DeJuan Gross is the fifth defensive back, but look at this. They have 8 men up there in the line of scrimmage. That is playing the run, and they are going to get up. They have the thing contained from the outside, make the cutback, and they had 4 guys there to make the tackle.
Dirk Johnson is the Eagle punter. High floater, and Philadelphia goes down to cover, and they surround the ball, and it's a beautiful punt that's down at about the 5-yard line by Greg Lewis, pinning the Rams deep with 11:23 to go to the half. 7-7. Ready for some football as we culminate our 35th season of Monday night, wrapping it up here in St. Louis. Game tied early second quarter. Rams begin the drive from the 4-yard line. Steven Jackson is the running back. He gets the ball, turns the corner, and picks up a few yards up to the 9-yard line, and we go to Michele.
Al, a couple of Philadelphia injuries to tell you about early in this game. Tight end Chad Lewis has a tricep injury. He is doubtful for the rest of the night. And cornerback Lito Shepherd has a quad contusion. His return is questionable, but Al and John, this is a good example of why Philly maybe didn't want to play all their stars tonight.
And Lito Shepherd will be going to his first Pro Bowl. He's on the bike. Roderick Hood takes his spot. 2nd down and 5 from the 9. Shepherd was involved in the interception and the collision with Dexter Wynn. Jackson picks up a first down. Joey Goodspeed led the charge with a nice block. Eagles great defensively, as we say, fewest points allowed in the NFL this season. Yards per game. Rushing, first 8 games they had a lot of problems, but look what they've done over the last 6, both in terms of yards per game and yards per carry.
Well, you know what they did? They moved Jeremiah Trotter into middle linebacker, and that solidified the middle. And then they moved Mark Simoneau from middle linebacker to weak linebacker, and that made that position better. So that has been a big part of it.
1st and 10 of the 15-yard line. They draw the Eagles offside. Steven Jackson, a free run. That penalty is going to be declined clearly. To the 43-yard line. Roderick Hood finally tracks him down. 43-yard gain for the #1 draft choice.
I'll tell you one thing, the Rams know this, that if you're going to run the ball, you have to get someone on Jeremiah Trotter, and that's exactly what they do. Watch what they do to Trotter. You start him that way, they get up on him there, they get him going back about 10 yards, then they get him turned the other way when Steven Jackson cuts off. Just watch Trotter here and what they do to him. They know that if you're going to run, you have to get him back off the line. They do that, they get him spun around, and then Steven Jackson just runs right by everyone.
Steven Jackson was the forgotten man, didn't play it down last week in Arizona. Tonight, in the first 21 minutes of the game, he has 100 yards. Marshall Faulk is back in the game. To the 41-yard line, short gain. Here's Michele again.
Well, already in this game, Steven Jackson, the rookie, showing why the Rams offensive line just loves this guy. Adam Timmerman telling me that Jackson has a great attitude, always has a smile on his face, is strong, and is ready to power into defenders. Also is able to do some things that Marshall Faulk can no longer do anymore. He also said Jackson makes cuts that few rookies can, and the offensive line loves that sort of thing. Timmerman said, and I quote, "It was a great move to draft Steven Jackson." Pretty high praise from the veteran now.
Steven Jackson hasn't played in the last 2 games, inactive in 1, didn't play last week, but against San Francisco on the 5th of December, he was over 100 yards as Marshall Faulk again carries to the 39 this time.
I'll tell you this, every offensive lineman wants to run the ball. If you say, what do you want to do, run or pass, I'll guarantee you, if you're an offensive lineman, they love to run, and that helps them because it slows down the pass rush. And last week, Steven Jackson didn't play. Marshall Faulk wasn't able to run. It got to be a passing thing, and they just blitzed, and the game just got away from them. This time, by running the ball, the offensive line loves it, and they have control of the game.
Bulger takes his first snap out of the shotgun on 3rd and 7. 4 wide receivers in this formation. Bulger has to check off, comes back this way, and completes the pass to Isaac Bruce to a chant of Bruce and a first down.
Hey, that was pretty good protection, and that's what the Rams were worried about is to get in that 3rd and long and the Eagle blitz. And you're going to see the Eagle blitz come. They get it picked up. Bulger has time, man-to-man coverage. He just couldn't find someone on that left side, and he had to come back to the right side to find Isaac Bruce.
Isaac Bruce ranking 13th now all-time in receptions. He just moved by James Lofton, 765.
And you have to credit that one to the pass protection.
Spread formation again here, 1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. Quick pass to the outside. Bruce again. 2 catches in a row. 25-yard line. Matt Ware makes the stop.
I think the Rams figure any time the Eagles get in dime defense and they get spread out like that, and you play that far off, either Isaac Bruce or Torrey Holt, watch the distance here, how far that corner's off. I mean, that's over 10 yards, so you're just going to come up and just throw the ball out to him. Just give him the ball right now because he already has an 8-yard separation.
2nd and 4. Bulger's been perfect. He's 6 for 6. A little short stuff for 39 yards. Now deeper over the middle and incomplete. Torrey Holt reaching up with one hand. Incomplete. 3rd down and 4.
Tell you one thing, he was leading them right in there to that free safety, right into Brian Dawkins, and you don't want to go in there. I was talking to Mark Bulger the other day, and the Eagles have a coverage. They call it 3 cloud, and that's what it was. It looks like a cover 2 on one side, but you have the safety in the middle. He read it as cover 2. He didn't see Dawkins, and he kind of led that ball right into Dawkins. He said that was the one that gives him the most trouble, and he had a little trouble with that coverage there.
3rd down and 4. Out of the empty backfield. Bulger, the pump fake, fires, and then it's incomplete. Intended for Dane Looker, their 4th or 5th wideout. I mean, they've got Curtis and McDonald, and of course the 2 big guys. And Looker can't hold this one in, and it's 4th down.
And that's exactly what Dane Looker would be. He would be their 5th wide receiver, or a guy that they have in special situations for a special play. That was one of them. I think the other one we saw was that fake punt. You know, Wilkins was trying to throw the ball to Dane Looker.
Underthrew it. Now Jeff Wilkins with Looker holding with a 44-yard attempt. Looker spots it at the 34, and that kick is going to be wide to the left. Jeff Wilkins normally pretty automatic from that spot, but not here. 6.5 to play in the first half. 7-7 in St. Louis. Back in St. Louis. Now this is great for you would-be ophthalmologists as they try to find and replace the contact lens.
That's Anthony Hargrove there, and what happens is when you wear contact lenses and you have contact, sometimes they just pop right out. That's what happened to Hargrove.
1st and 10, 34-yard line. Flag is down as sprinting across was Leonard Little. Leonard's quick, but he and he knows it with that smile. He came across before the snap.
Well, and the Eagles have a makeshift line in there. That's Ian Allen, who's now at the right tackle for John Runyon.
Offside, 91, defense, 5-yard penalty, still, 1st down.
In fact, they just have all backups in there now, the Eagles offensive line.
It's kind of like Canton. It's like the first regular season game or preseason game that opens up the preseason, 1 of 5 for the teams that play in the Hall of Fame game when the league begins its preseason schedule. Regulars play a little bit, and then the other guys come in. 1st and 5 from the 39-yard line. Detmer avoids the sack and then throws out into the flat for Josh Parry, who looks for a flag. Pisa Tino Isamoa was there to bang him as the ball got there. Now Terrell Owens, of course, everybody knows Philadelphia was in collective mourning last Monday because this happened on Sunday in the Dallas game. Roy Williams tackles him from behind. Down one Owens. And of course, in the ensuing few days, Terrell's had surgery, broken leg. The ankle has a pin and a couple of screws in it as well, and he cannot play for the rest of the regular season nor the playoffs. The possibility exists he could be back for the Super Bowl if they get there in Jacksonville. And John will be talking to Terrell Owens. In fact, he's going to be on the phone, and we'll visit with him in the third quarter and find out how things are going along.
You know, and he was such a big part of this offense. You know, like Randy Moss does in Minnesota. It makes you play entire different defense. You know, we're talking to the Rams, and you know, without Terrell Owens, they're able to double someone else. They're able, you know, if they have to, bring the 8th man up. So it's going to be interesting to see the Eagles the rest of the way and in the playoffs, because without Terrell Owens, they're going to see a lot different defenses.
Eagles might also have to utilize Donovan McNabb as a runner a little bit more in postseason. And that pass for Billy McMullen, one of the guys who has to step it up as well in the absence of Owen, is incomplete. Jeremetrius Butler with the coverage on the play.
You know, one of the things with all these Eagle receivers now that Terrell Owens is out, they all have a tough time getting off the jam. And that's the way that people play these guys. They play them up tight and they jam them. And that's why they got Terrell Owens. I mean, when you get Terrell Owens, you try and jam him, he just runs right over you.
Dirk Johnson's kick. Sean McDonald is there to run it back, but falls for the fair catch at the 20-yard line. So the Rams in the game they must win. Have the ball at the 20-yard line. 5:47 to the half. 7-7. Monday Night Football from St. Louis, being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 39. Bud Light, fresh smooth real, it's all here, and Snickers, home of the weekly Hungriest Player Award. Aerial coverage brought to you by Budweiser. Dawkins comes out defensively. J.R. Reed in for him. Dawkins, one of their 3 secondary Pro Bowlers from the defensive backfield. Corey Simon, I think, is the first guy who comes across that time, the defensive tackle, but
False
no.
start, number 62, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Adam Timmerman made him come across the line.
That's Adam Timmerman's second penalty for that. I think, you know, the Eagles stunt so much and blitz so much, and you have linebackers coming in there that really throws the offensive lineman off, because they're always thinking, you know, the guy is on my outside shoulder, I have him, but if someone comes inside him, I have to pick him up, and sometimes they leave a little prematurely.
Draw on 1st and 15, not fooling the Eagle defenders. Second down, Darwin Walker making the tackle.
Yeah, Darwin Walker, they're trying to make a defensive end out of him now. You know, he's been the defensive tackle, been playing inside, and they were going to play him. They played him a little last week at right defensive end. They're playing him tonight at left defensive end. And I talked to Jim Johnson about it, and what he's trying to do is find his third end, you know, that can get into rotation. And he said Darwin Walker could be that guy.
Another defensive end, Derek Burgess, inactive tonight, as is the defensive tackle Hollis Thomas. Thomas thinks he might be back by next week. Second down and 16, and free over the middle, making the catch is Torrey Big Game Holt. Up to the 30-yard line, and enough for a first down.
Yeah, there's no one that throws that pattern better than Mark Bulger or the Rams. Torrey Holt is the inside receiver. He's going to come up and into this set. And you see what Bulger's going to do is he sees the window and he throws it in the window before Holt even comes. And he hits him right on that back hip. But they can do that. I mean, they can run that deep end either from outside as a wide receiver or from a slot better than anyone.
16-yard gain on the play and a first down at the 30-yard line. Jackson was at 100. Then he had a -1, so he was back down to 99, and now he's back in 3 figures again at 104.
You know what I like about Jackson is he knows when he has to use his power. You could just see about 3/4 of the way through the run. He said, well, this is about as much as I'm going to get, and I want to finish it off. He's a very good finisher of runs. He's been in for 12 plays, Alan, and 11 of them have been runs.
Now Falk splits out to the right, and the ball is given to Jackson, as they had both Jackson and Falk in the lineup together. To the 39 he goes, and Dhani Jones makes the stop.
And I think that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, they're going to have to leave Steven Jackson in on a few passes, or put Marshall Faulk in there with him, as you said, just so they don't get that key and say every time Marshall is in there it's a pass, every time Steven Jackson is in there it's a run.
Faulk's last 3 games, take a look at that. Who would have believed those numbers at any point in his career? 30 rushes, 35 yards. Some of it is Marshall, some of it his injury, and some of it the offensive line. Jackson. Nice little move there. First down over the 45-yard line, and under 3 minutes to the end of the half.
And I think some of it is not playing with Steven Jackson last week. And the week before he was not active the week before. See what the Eagles do on this is they're going to come on a run blitz. You see they're up there and they're going to hit this side of it. They hit the left side defensively, and the Rams made a good call. They ran away from the run blitz.
First and 10, 45-yard line. Faulk back in the game. Bulger off the play fake, gets protection, but the secondary does its work despite the substitutions in there, and Jerome McDougal gets credit for the sack.
And you're exactly right. That's what it was. This is a coverage sack here. You see Bulger, he has the time to throw. He goes to throw there to the left, and there's nothing open. There's no one to throw to, so when he turns back to the right, there's McDougal.
A little bit of a timeout here. Injury timeout. 2:15 to the half. Our former colleague, one Eric Dickerson, that phenomenal season 20 years ago, 2,105 yards. Eric on hand, being honored tonight. Of course, part of our Monday night crew for 2 years in 2000, 2001. Great guy.
Yeah, and what a back he was. And you know, everyone is quick. Any back that kind of runs straight up to say he reminds me of Eric Dickerson. There's no other Eric Dickerson.
Second and 16 as the Rams have it now at their own 39-yard line. Bulger stepping up to avoid the heat. There is a flag thrown. The pass is incomplete. The intended receiver was Kevin Curtis.
You know, Mark Bulger, we talked about how he's playing with that bad right shoulder and collarbone, and you know, he really hasn't aired one out yet. I mean, all
24 defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Sheldon Brown.
All his passes have been the shorter and mid-range variety, and you wonder if he can do it because he's getting pretty good pass protection now. I think that running of Steven Jackson, I think, has really helped this offensive line and helped their pass protection.
Rams have all of their timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. Time not an issue. First and 10 at the 44-yard line.
This is one of the things, you look at this formation and they have like 4 receivers, spread them out. Mike Martz said he likes his protection opportunities that way better, where you spread the defense out and you can get rid of the ball quickly rather than having them all in there tight.
Blitz comes. It's read perfectly, and one Isaac Bruce is inside the 30. Big gain, stopped by Matt Ware as we tick down to the 2-minute warning on a 26-yard pass play.
And that's exactly what he wanted to do, spread them out and get rid of the ball quickly. When you see the blitz and you feel it, let it go.
2-minute warning in a tie game. And Peyton Manning, there he is in Indianapolis at home on this Monday night. We're going to talk to him about yesterday's record-setting performance, and the Colts 12-3, and he'll be coming along very shortly at the half, and also a retrospective on the life of Reggie White.
You talk about a quarterback that has been in a zone. Peyton Manning is in that zone, whatever that may mean.
Otherworldly. First and 10 now at the 30-yard line. Rams with all of their timeouts as they try to assume the lead, and the pass intended for Faulk is thrown low and incomplete.
This is the thing what the Rams are doing now on that completion before they got the blitz off the corner, so the guy that leaves becomes a hot receiver, and you're going to see here he gets a blitz here and the hot receiver is the back. Instead of blocking the linebacker that comes, he just goes out into the pattern and Bulger has to throw to him hot. They've done that 2 in a row.
Second down and 10. Bulger out of the shotgun. Comes to the near side and hits Sean McDonald, second-year receiver out of Arizona State, a little bit short of the first down marker. We talked about the Rams at home and how much better they play here, and the team constructed for this fast surface, and Bulger's statistics would illustrate that. 17-2 inside here and 7-8 on the road.
You know, part of it is inside. You never have to throw in bad weather, and the other part is this artificial turf. I mean, this could be the fastest turf in the NFL.
And the team perfectly suited for it with Bruce and Holt and Falk through the years. Third down and 1 at the 21-yard line. And the inside handoff nets a first down as Marshall Falk carries the ball to the 17-yard line.
Marshall Falk still has some quickness, doesn't he?
You know,
I mean, that inside trap, he hit that quickly. And watch it, the minute you think that maybe he's slowing down or something, you see him right here. He's going to hit that trap right there. I tell you, he got in and out of that hole. That's a good combination when you have Marshall Falk running like that after Steven Jackson. That kind of gives you the 1-2 punch. But the big thing that has impressed me in this first half is the job that this maligned offensive line of the Rams is doing.
First and 10. Yeah, it's a good time for them to get their act together on that offensive line, especially with Philadelphia bringing guys in and out of the game tonight, playing a lot of second unit people. First and 10 as Bulger comes out to his right to buy time. He can run with it, and he steps out of bounds. I think he wanted to go a little bit farther down the field. He's out at the 14, but you don't think of Bulger as a running quarterback, but this season he's run for 3 touchdowns, and they haven't been sneaks either.
No, but that's exactly why, because he's not a runner, so no one ever spies him. The defensive line doesn't worry about him running. They don't worry about containment. So once in a while he can break containment like that.
His touchdown runs this year, 19, 15, and 9 yards. He has as many touchdowns over the last 3 years running as does Steve McNair.
Right, because he can't run. No one worries about him running.
Second down and 7, and to the outside, Marshall Falk, and he can't turn it back up. He's tackled at the 11-yard line. J.R. Reed makes the stop.
That was a good tackle by J.R. Reed, too. We talked about him earlier. He's in there for Brian Dawkins now at the safety position. And one thing that, you know, when you start a sweep on that side, that safety has to get up there and contain. You see him there, number 30, but not only get up and contain, but get up, contain, and make the tackles. That's what J.R. Reed did.
Mike Martz will not be happy with a field goal here. It's getting a little nervous for the Rams here against the Eagles. McNabb out of the game, Westbrook inactive, Owens hurt, and they're hanging right in. Third down and 4 at the 10-yard line. Pressure on Bulger, and then he throws, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Sean McDonald. So they'll have to settle for a Wilkins 3-point attempt.
Yeah, he said that they wanted to come out with a lot of energy, you know, and get that first wallop in there. They got that first wallop, and then the Eagles kind of came in and counterpunched them, and that's been the fight so far.
This is very typical of the Eagles. They may give up a lot of yardage, but few points. That's 247 yards tonight. They're on a pace for 500, and yet only 7 points, trying to go to 10 points here on a 28-yard field goal that is good. 42 ticks remaining in a do-or-die game for the Rams in the first half. They lead by 3 over the Eagles. Al Michaels, John Madden, Michele Tafoya, our final Monday night game of the season. A lot of you wondering about the last week. Well, we used to do the last Monday of the season, but so often it was a meaningless game, so we traded that for the opening Thursday night, and that was a good trade this year, John. We had that Indy New England game that was phenomenal.
One of the great all-time trades in the NFL. In the first Thursday night game instead of the last Monday night game. Now you're talking.
And now we got our 17 games in, and we like the way that one worked out. A lot of strange games coming up next weekend, because you've got games where teams have everything at stake to get into the playoffs, playing teams that are either out of the playoffs or have their seed brings it up to the 25. And speaking of Peyton, we'll talk to him at the half. But Peyton, we have a moment quickly to talk about a fellow alumnus and your thoughts on the passing yesterday of Reggie White.
Well, obviously, I'm very saddened by it, Al. I always felt a very special bond with Reggie White because we both went to the University of Tennessee, and I never got to play against him, but all our coaches always said that he was the greatest defensive player they ever coached against, and I still just can't believe it, but he was always very nice to me, and as people have said this week or so far, that Reggie White truly walked the walk, and he was a great man on the field and off the field, and the NFL and the University of Tennessee, he was a great ambassador, and everybody's really going to miss him, including me.
Yeah, very, very well put, and we'll have that retrospective on Reggie's life coming up. Also, we'll be talking with Peyton Manning about what he did yesterday. Detmer will end the first half with a kneel down, but the Rams now say, oh, you're not going to get away that easy. We've got a couple of timeouts, and we're going to use one of them right here. It's a 30-second timeout, so it's a quick timeout, and March is going to take him right down to the end. Philadelphia doesn't have to punt, though. He can call one more timeout here. Then it will be third down, and then Philadelphia can run a play and then go to the locker room.
And I think Mike Martz just figured that out because he was laughing about it when he's thinking that you're not going to get the ball back anyway, so why call a timeout? It'll be interesting to see if he does after this. You know, the first one you can say, well, you know, maybe he thinks something else, or they one less down or something.
Right.
If they call timeout after this one, you have to say, what in the heck are they thinking?
Second and 11. And they're going to do it again, because who knows, maybe you could have a fumbled exchange if nothing else. So mathematically they can't get the ball back, but at least they'll take a chance on a fumbled snap. Back in a moment. The Rams, Isaac Bruce along the sideline, and now all they have to do is kneel down, and now St. Louis cannot stop the clock, so that will do it. Martz plays it right to the end, walks away smiling, but his ball club right now has its hands full despite a shortened Philadelphia roster, and McNabb not playing in the second half. So it's a 3-point game and a do-or-die game as Martz goes off the field with a what-me-worry look. Halftime, 10-7 Rams. Peyton Manning coming up next. The Toyota halftime show from St. Louis when we come back after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC stations. The Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis as we start the third quarter. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Michele Tafoya. 10-7 St. Louis, and they'll kick off. Jeff Wilkins puts it in the air. Eagles will have the ball first, 14-yard line. This is J.R. Reed up past the 30, and Wilkins among the Rams who have to stop him, a trio of them, after a good run back to the 45. And let's check in with Michele.
Al, I spoke with Mike Martz at halftime. His offense threw the ball just 14 times in the first half, ran at 23. He's really happy with the way his offense is running the ball and controlling this game. And he said he's continued to keep up with that ratio. He said, hey, look, as long as the run is working and the pass not working quite as well, we'll take it.
And they're averaging 7.1 yards per rush. Jackson has 114 yards, 13 carries. Now Detmer throws on first down, and that's dropped by Billy McMullen. I can hear everybody in Philadelphia going, oh, man. You lose Terrell Owens, and somebody's got to step up. And here are the numbers through the first 30 minutes of play. The Rams with that good rushing performance, 163, but only 10 points.
You know, and like you said just before halftime, that's the Eagle defense. I mean, they'll do that. They don't like that term bend but don't break, but I think they let you have things other than touchdowns.
Second and 10 up at the 44-yard line. Detmer throws, and that's incomplete. That one intended for Freddie Mitchell, who scored a touchdown tonight. McNabb was in for that one long series. He was 3 of 3 with the touchdown to Mitchell, and now Detmer is 0 for his first 4.
And you think, when's the last time you saw into the third quarter the Eagles only throwing 7 passes? And Andy Reid calls so many passes, but yet it's an entire backup offensive line. It's your backup quarterback who hasn't been playing, and it's backup receivers. So this is what you're going to look like.
3rd and 10 out of the shotgun. The fake draw. Detmer going around the corner, and he's going to throw just about at the point of the line of scrimmage. He was very close, and the flag was thrown. In fact, on one side of the field, the official looked all the way over, and the flag is thrown, and so the pass is incomplete, and Detmer was across the line of scrimmage anyway.
Yeah, because we're kind of standing right on the line, and you could see it with your raw eyes that he was over the line of scrimmage.
Even Anthony Hargrove, without his contact lens, could have seen that.
Could see that. That's the definition of raw eyes.
I was just thinking.
Contactless.
Illegal forward pass. The quarterback was beyond the line.
The red line is the line of scrimmage.
Down. 4th down.
Well beyond.
Very evident. So Detmer is still without a completion on any of his passes tonight, and they're forced to kick with Dirk Johnson to send it down toward Sean McDonald.
They started to go the wrong way. Did you see that?
Yeah, exactly. They want to take the penalty here because you get the down and the distance as well. Has some room once he turns the corner. Nice run back out to the 30-yard line as he brings it back close to 20 yards. Rams have it, and a 3-point lead early in the second half. The Rams again to set the situation for them to win the division. They'd have to win tonight, beat the Jets next Sunday, and have Seattle lose to Atlanta. They can also get in as a wild card, because if Seattle wins, then Seattle's the division champ. But if the Rams can win both games and either Minnesota loses or Carolina and New Orleans wind up in a tie, they'd get in. Minnesota plays at Washington next week.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you dig yourself in a hole like this. You need other people to help pull you out.
Steven Jackson takes a handoff here on the Rams' first play of the 3rd period, and that's Ike Reese, who will be going to the Pro Bowl as a special teamer. One of 9 Eagles going to Honolulu, making the stop.
Ike Reese is a pretty good player. I mean, not only on special teams, but then he comes and he plays nickel, and we see him in here now as a middle linebacker, and he's just going to come in and shoot that gap. You see, and that's the thing. Again, we talk about penetration. You can play on your side of the line of scrimmage or on their side. When you play on their side, plays like that are going to happen.
2nd down and 13. 26-yard line. Bulger throws to the outside and almost intercepted. Pass hanging, and that's Roderick Hood on the pass intended for Isaac Bruce.
Just going to say this is the coverage right here, and it's a form of quarters. Instead of getting up there and bumping, they're just playing quarter, 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 and he gets a jump right on that ball. He's looking in there, he's watching Isaac Bruce, he's watching Bulger, and he gets a perfect jump in the ball.
3rd down and 13. Missouri right on the Illinois border as a flag comes in, so we can't tell a lie. It looked like Ike Reese. It was actually 59 Mike Labinho. So we do this thing on Reese, but it could have been Reese, John.
It could have been.
That's the kind of play he makes.
Because he does come in and play middle linebacker. He does play middle linebacker on nickel.
Face mask. 21 defense. 15-yard penalty automatic. 1st down.
Big foul on Matt Ware. This could have been on either guy.
Yeah, Matt Ware is number 21. He's playing the right cornerback. He's playing for Sheldon Brown. And you see, that's the one that our camera has.
Yeah.
Our camera has Ware's. And now we'll show you Holtz.
Yeah.
This one face mask deserves another face mask, but the official only sees one.
Should have been offsetting face masks. Instead, it's a big play. Rams keep the ball, have a first down, have it at the 50-yard line. Bulger, that inside play they like to run a lot. Steven Jackson, gain of 1. Torrey Holt refers to himself as Big Game. Torrey's been known as that since his days at North Carolina State, and he's finally not only come into his own as a Ram, because for years Isaac Bruce was kind of the guy, and then he and Bruce formed this great tandem, and then Holt's numbers got to be a little bit better, and now around the league everybody recognizes that Torrey Holt is one of the top receivers in the league.
Well, he runs the deeper patterns. He runs those ups and those posts and those corners and those corner ups, and Isaac Bruce runs the ends and the medium range pattern.
We saw his dedication on the helmet to Reggie White with that 92, and there is Torrey Holt almost on cue, making the catch. First down to the 39. A little more on Torrey Holt.
The one word that defines me is happy. My hidden talent is singing. If not for football, I would be modeling. World's greatest athlete, Lance Armstrong. When it comes to music, I love Marvin Gaye. If I were an actor, I would do a scene with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Sounded like Santa Claus there at the end. Ho, 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 ho.
The Ebullient one, and again, you got action up front with all of the second line guys in there. Eagles come across the line of scrimmage.
Well, they got a little overexcited on that blitz. They had an overload on the defensive left side, and they were trying to hit.
Number 95, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yeah, you're trying to hit that thing when the ball snapped, and McDougal just left a little early. You can see the overload. See, it's going to come right on this side. And McDougal, sometimes you'll jump off sides when you hear something in front of you. And sometimes, for some reason, when someone sneaks up behind you like that, you tend to jump off sides.
We got to get an audiologist in here to figure out the reason. 1st and 5 from the 33-yard line. Reverse move by Marshall Faulk, but he still can't get free as Roderick Hood, playing in place of Sheldon Brown for the moment, comes up to make the tackle.
Yeah, we talk about the Eagles defense and Jim Johnson, the coaching. I'll tell you one thing, his defensive players all tackle well. It's like this, I mean, they're our defensive backs, and they're good cover guys and stuff, but doggone it, if you can't tackle like Hood does right here, it's tough to play this position. You can't make those kind of plays. And that is a big tackle, an open field tackle on a guy like Marshall Faulk.
Faulk out, Jackson in. 2nd and 3. Rams by 3. 3rd quarter. Steven Jackson. A little high stepping and a first down to the 22-yard line. Hit by J.R. Reed.
And you see what Steven Jackson did to J.R. Reed, or J.R. Reed did to Steven Jackson. But the thing I said earlier that I really like about Steven Jackson is he finishes off his runs. He gets a run here. Now he knows he's about to be tackled, and he puts his head down. Of course, he had 2 guys take him on, and he's looking up and saying, where in the heck did that J.R. Reed come from? I mean, he brought that whole load across him. What's that? He maintains the leverage, doesn't give him a cutback, and then unloads on him. But Jackson has 122 yards already.
122, hit by Reed, the rookie out of South Florida. 22, nice cut back there. Good Denver kind of play as Jackson takes the ball to the 15-yard line.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. Is you're going to see him start to the right here, and then look at this hole back here. Steven Jackson sees that, feels that, and takes it quickly. That's the thing you can do to a defense that pursues quickly. They tend to over pursue, and they give you that backside cutback.
2nd and 3 now. Jackson lining up in the eye. Follows good speed. The fullback goes by him and has enough for a first down. Spotted inside the 10, thus it's 1st and goal for St. Louis. That face mask call looming very large right now. And then the missed call on what should have been offsetting penalties.
But the thing is, the Rams started the game like this. I mean, they came out, they gave them the first punch, they got the Eagles back on their heels. Then they kind of settled down, you know, and they lost that, and now they come back in the third quarter and they're playing like they did on the first drive.
First and goal. Cuts it back again. Funny how there are so many rooting interests in the game tonight for teams around the country. Seattle, of course, rooting for Philadelphia. The Jets would be rooting for Philadelphia as well, because the Jets want to come in here in a game that's pretty important to the Jets and face a St. Louis team that has nothing at stake instead of a St. Louis team that has to win that game.
Right, and how about Minnesota?
Right, Minnesota gets into the playoffs automatically tonight if the Rams lose.
Right, so they're really rooting for these Eagles, and they're probably looking at the way Andy Reid decided to play this and saying, what the heck's going on down there?
What are you doing? Second down and goal from the 7. And that pass is caught by Isaac Bruce for a touchdown.
And you like Mark Bulger, he throws a touchdown pass and just walks off the field. Here's Isaac Bruce. You see bunch here. They have 3 receivers on this side. Isaac Bruce is the outside guy. You see, he comes off the line quickly, starts to the outside, and then edges back to the inside. That's an angle pass. He starts to the right and then angles into the left.
Rams in their 15th game of the season, John. It's the first time they've come out and scored on their first drive of the second half. Picked a pretty good time to do it, too. Extra point by Wilkins halfway through the third quarter. That big face mask penalty keeps it alive. Rams up by 10. Aerial coverage tonight provided by Budweiser. Downtown St. Louis, clear and cold night. Toasty inside the dome, and the Rams up by 10 in that Bruce touchdown, John. And the acknowledgement of Reggie White.
Number 92, and you know, thinking back of Reggie White, remember when he played, I never met anyone that didn't like him. You know, like opponents usually don't like the other guy, say this guy's a dirty player, this guy's something. Every opponent liked and respected Reggie White.
And then he was playing with Brett Favre, and you could say the same thing about Brett. The two together in Green Bay is Roderick Hood with a nice run back here all the way up to the 45-yard line. So the Eagles have good field position after the 33-yard run back halfway through the third quarter. Terrell Owens is in Philadelphia, and we'll talk with him when we come back to St. Louis. Wildcard Saturday comes your way on January 8th on ABC. A pair of games coming your way on ABC. The first will start at 4:30 Eastern, second 8 o'clock Eastern. One game in the AFC, one game in the NFC. Wildcard Saturday right here. Ball at the 45 as Philadelphia begins this drive with a Reno Mahe 1-yard run into Philadelphia now, where Terrell Owens is standing by watching this game live and rehabilitating. And first of all, Terrell, just tell us how it's gone. You had the surgery. It's a week later. Where are you? And do you expect to be able to play if the Eagles get to the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. If this God's will, then I'll be there. I think the rehab process is going well. Gotten a chance to get out to the facility, rehab, get in the pool, move around a little bit, and the swelling's considerably down. Obviously, I know you guys talked to our trainer, Rick, and he's obviously pleased with how the swelling has gone down.
Billy McMullen has just made the catch there up to the 50-yard line.
Yeah, I did talk to Rick, and he was talking about how you started off right away, and you wouldn't even get out of bed. You just kept the thing elevated and didn't even go to the bathroom or do any of those things so that the swelling wouldn't get started in there.
Right. I had to bring the bathroom to me.
That's what I heard.
It's 3rd down and 5 now for your Eagles at the 50-yard line. And that is dropped, so they don't get the first down. Terrell, what's your take on what Andy Reid has done? And do you think the fact he's holding McNabb back and he's deactivated Westbrook had a lot to do with what happened to you last week?
Well, I think he's just being safe and sorry, and I think with these next, obviously he's playing a game now, but the game left, I mean, there's no reason to play the guy, and obviously we want to get into the postseason healthy, and, you know, I support that decision.
Here's the punt now by Dirk Johnson. Rams will let it go, and the Eagles will down the ball at around the 10-yard line, still rolling. And it will go at the 11-yard line. T.O. will still be with us. Terrell, stand by for a second. Commercial break coming up here with 5:57 remaining in the third and a 10-point game. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And the new T-Mobile Sidekick 2 with IM, email, web browsing, and more. Everybody needs a sidekick. T-Mobile. St. Louis on this last Monday night in December. The famed and fabled arch. Aerial coverage being provided by Budweiser. Rams in a do-or-die situation. Must win tonight, must win next week against the Jets. And get some help to get into the playoffs. And they start this drive from their own 12-yard line. Steven Jackson. Terrell Owens still with us from Philadelphia, where he's rehabilitating. Now, T.O., everybody's going to miss Andy Reid not wearing those. He's not wearing those tights. Let's see. T.O. might not be able to hear us right now. I guess not. We'll work on that for a second.
Yeah, Andy's happy he didn't have to wear those tights, but he sure as heck isn't happy what happened to T.O.
No, not at all.
He would have gotten out of it some way anyway. I mean, knowing Andy, he would have said, I was just kidding. That wasn't what, you know, that's not the deal. We'll carry it over to next year. There was no way he was going to do that.
Well, they didn't have to shame him into it. 2nd down and 10. And that's Jackson up to the 17-yard line.
And that's the thing that impresses me, and I said that before about Steven Jackson, how he finishes runs. You know, I mean, you take that as far as you can, and then at the end, you just root everything that you can out to get about 3 or 4 more yards. I'm very, very impressed with him. I'm not sure, you know, I think there's still the problem with his is going to be, you know, the pass protection. You know, do they believe in him? Does Mike Martz believe in him? You know, in these situations where he has to pass protect if they blitz.
142 yards on the ground tonight. Bolger on a roll to the right. Isaac Bruce, who scored a touchdown, picks up the 1st down. We go to Michele.
Well, speaking of pass protection and Steven Jackson, John, I spoke with him about that because he didn't play a snap last week for that very reason. They didn't trust him in pass protection against blitzing teams. Well, here he is playing against a very active blitzing team in the Eagles. He told me he didn't mind so much last week. He was disappointed because he wants to contribute. He wants to continue to measure himself. And what he did was talk to Marshall Faulk about it. Faulk told him, look, you're going to have ups and downs. Hang in there. This is the way it goes. You've got to be tenacious. And so he's learning. Al?
All right, thank you, Michele. 1st down and 10 at the 30-yard line. Heavy dose of Steven Jackson tonight. Flag is thrown, and the flag came from the umpire, so it's 99 and 44, 100% certain. This one's going to come back, and Jackson tired and slightly shaken up. Holding.
You know, and the thing is, I think last week, too, it wasn't only the fact that the Arizona team was blitzing.
10-yard penalty. Still, 1st down.
But it was also that the Rams got so far behind, and then that kind of takes a run away from you anyway. But here, with the score 17-7, they kind of have control. They've been able to mix the pass and the run in, and that means that they've been able to mix Steven Jackson in.
Steven Jackson right now comes off with a very slight hobble. 21 carries for him, 10 for Marshall Faulk tonight. Ball comes back in. There's Jackson trying to walk it off on the sideline. The penalty was on Tom Newton. 3.5 to go in the 3rd. Bolger, that deep drop, and then throws to the outside, and that's incomplete. So T.O. is now back with us. We've got the audio all fixed. Terrell, so we were talking about Andy Reid promised to wear tights. I mean, that's a heck of a way to weasel out of it. And you guys have to hold them to that. I mean, you scored a ratio of almost a touchdown a game. So what do you think? Is Andy going to be adorned in those things one day?
Well, when I had to go to Baltimore for more tests, he called me on the way back and he told me that he would extend it, if I was able to play in the Super Bowl. So, if not, I have a shot at next year. I just try for another 15.
It's going to happen. One way or another, second down and 20 now. And the ball is given to Marshall Faulk up to the 27.
It didn't take you and Donovan McNabb long to connect, to get on the same page, to get a feeling for each other. How did that happen?
Just mini camps, and then toward the end of that first mini camp, well, we kind of agreed that I would come out to Arizona, time permitting, and we hooked up out there 2 weeks before training camp started, and just try to develop some chemistry between each other. Him trying to learn my patterns, me trying to gauge how strong his arm was, which I didn't have to do. I didn't have to do too much of, but from that standpoint on, once we got into training camp, it was just work in progress.
And on 3rd and 13, Isaac Bruce makes the catch, cutting to the outside. Roderick Hood fell down on the coverage, and so a 3rd and long conversion of 25 yards.
That's one of the deeper passes that Mark Bulger has thrown tonight. You're going to see Isaac Bruce. He's the outside receiver here, and he starts to the inside, and then that is a heck of a move to the inside, like he was going to the post, and then he came back and flattened it out on an out. Watch him. He starts inside, gets the defense to go inside, and then he goes back to the outside. These guys, between Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, they are two of the best move wide receivers in the league.
Not only did Hood fall down, he comes limping off the field. And that is caught at the 32-yard line. Torrey Holt makes the catch. And T.O., you've watched these guys, Holt and Bruce, through the years. What's your take on Torrey and Isaac?
I mean, you have one of the best tandems in the league in Torrey and Isaac. And, I've watched those guys and played against those guys over the course of years when I was in San Francisco. And, those guys are getting better and better each year.
Torrey Holt grabbing this one here. He's now caught 5 tonight for 62 yards, and Bruce has 6 catches for 85 and a touchdown.
Yeah, you don't feel that Mark Bulger has full velocity tonight, but his accuracy is pretty good.
15 out of 21, and it normally is. Sam Rayburn jumped. Question is, was he induced? And when we get the call, we can take a look at a very interesting graphic.
Number 91, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Terrell, we're going to look right now at a graphic that shows Donovan McNabb throwing to the various receivers for Philadelphia. He threw 128 to you, 63 to Pinkston, 34 to Mitchell, 18 to Greg Lewis, the wide receivers, and to you 125 was the pass rating. Pinkston 99, Mitchell, as you can see, 45, and Lewis 53. Of those 3 guys, of the other 3 right now, as we look at the play here on 1st down and 5, and the Rams keep it on the ground, it fall to the outside, and a hit at the end of the play, and that brings a flag as well.
That has to be.
Yeah. And Marshall is still down, well out of bounds. Take another look here at the end of the play and see who comes in for that hit.
And that's why a guy can get hurt getting hit out of bounds, because as he goes out of bounds and he hits the boundary, he starts to relax, and sometimes that's a mistake too. And you see that he goes here, then he started to slow up, he started to relax, and then you get hit after you've relaxed.
And that was Ike Reese. We were talking about the fact special teamer plays the linebacker spot as well.
There is no foul on the play. The runner had not stepped out of bounds. 2nd down.
It was very, very close. As you look at the replay again, it's legal. I mean, unless he's out of bounds. There he is, inbounds.
I guess he did have 1 foot in bounds, but Marshall Faulk relaxed, and you think for a veteran like him that he would know better. You see him just kind of give up and let go, and as he let go, Ike Reese let him have it.
And you saw the official with the best view, the guy who was closest, didn't throw the flag, and somebody saw it from another angle, and not as good an angle, and called it, and then it was picked up. So actually good work by the officiating crew getting it correct.
One guy talked the other guy out of it.
Steven Jackson, who had limped off, is now in the game, and there's another flag. And that pass is incomplete. Bruce, the intended receiver, moving to the inside. Sheldon Brown covering on the outside. And a flag at the line of scrimmage.
You know, when you talk to Jim Johnson about his defensive backs, 3 of the 4 made the Pro Bowl. This one here, Sheldon Brown did, and Jim Johnson thinks that he's one of his best, that he's one of his most consistent defensive players, and that's helped. You have to have, if you're going to blitz, you have to have
illegal
2
formation,
good corners.
86 lined up, and 83 covered. 83, 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
After all that. So, Terrell, we were talking about, we had shown that graphic of the other guys. Everybody would think Pinkston would be the most likely guy to step it up. But how do you see your absence being taken over by those trio of wide receivers for Philadelphia? Who has to do what?
I think collectively those guys are going to have to step up as a whole receiving group, and obviously everybody knows the importance of Brian Westbrook coming out of the backfield, what he brings to that offense, running and passing. So everybody has to pick up the slack, and they're going to have to win as a team.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. You don't think about Westbrook a lot catching the ball, but he does brilliantly.
Well, he's the number 2 receiver on the team. I mean, Terrell Owens, of course, is number 1. Westbrook was number 2. And it was interesting, the Rams were talking about with Terrell Owens out of this game, they thought Brian Westbrook was going to play, and their plan was to double team him.
Quarter ticks down. T.O., thank you very much. Continued success
thank you guys.
In the rehabilitation. And T.O. hoping to play in the Super Bowl if the Eagles get there. That is the end of the third quarter here in St. Louis. With the score, the Rams 17, the Philadelphia Eagles 7. Monday Night Football resumes after this message from our ABC stations. Fourth quarter. Al Michaels, John Madden, Michele Tafoya from St. Louis. Fourth quarter and our final Monday night game of the season. Vital game for the Rams. For the Eagles, they'd like to win, but right now it's a team that needs to stay injury-free. Thus, McNabb played only 1 series tonight. Touchdown march. Brian Westbrook healthy but inactive. And a lot of the first-line people on defense coming out. Meanwhile, Falk is in the game for the Rams as on the first play of the fourth quarter. Bulger gets sacked, and that was Jamal Green, one of the backup guys who is in his second season out of the University of Miami on injured reserve all of last year, who comes bursting through and takes Bulger down.
Yeah, and he comes bursting through because no one blocks him. He's right here, and you're going to see the empty backfield. There's no one there. The tackle blocks down, and Green just runs right into Bulger. That's the thing with that empty. There's no one back there that if you miss a guy or someone that has a chance to pick him up. Once a guy breaks through and there's an empty backfield, the only guy there is the quarterback.
First career sack for him, Kevin Stempke, who took over for Sean Landeta in midseason. His first punt of the game. Fair catch made by Dexter Wynn at the 12-yard line. So Detmer and the Eagles coming back out. 14:25 remaining in the fourth. St. Louis 17, Philadelphia 7. Well, we've had some beauties, and we've shown you the endings of games on our teasers. Will there be one tonight? See folks right there who went to 4 games in 4 days. Jeff Blake now comes in, the much-traveled one, at quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Blake goes over the middle, too deep. So Detmer was in the game, completed 1 of 6 for 5 yards. And now Blake comes in. He's been the number 3 quarterback, the inactive quarterback, most of the season. Started with the Jets and played in Cincinnati, New Orleans, Baltimore, Arizona, and now in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Detmer didn't want this kind of game. He was 1 for 6, like you said, for 5 yards. The Eagles only gained 25 yards in his 5 drives and only had 1 first down. So Coy Detmer was expecting a little more than that.
Second down and 10 of the 12. You know, Detmer has that helmet on as well, so there's the sign of a guy who says, you know, I got to get back in the game. I can't end it this way.
Well, he's talking to Donovan McNabb about it, and I think he's probably not going to get back in the game. I think that Andy Reid all along thought that Detmer would play into the fourth quarter, and then he would play Jeff Blake in the fourth quarter.
McNabb telling us last night, I've got to get Coy on the horse
98
trailer.
to defense, simulating the cadence, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Brian Howard. You know, the other story about Detmer we never got to. Coy Detmer travels with the clothes on his back, his playbook, and a toothbrush. Period. He doesn't even travel with toothpaste. He gets that from the concierge. I'll tell you one thing. U.S. Airways will never lose his luggage. At least he's never checked any luggage.
That's all he takes. I couldn't believe that he doesn't take toothpaste either. You know, I mean, I knew that he just took the toothbrush. And I said, well, what do you do for toothpaste? He said, well, when I get there, I go to the front desk and get toothpaste. I didn't know that front desks in hotels had toothpaste.
Now, well, it depends what hotel you're in.
Yeah.
Now, the hotels that the team stay in would normally have toothpaste.
I've never thought of that. I mean, if I've ever lost toothpaste or forgot it, I always go to the gift shop. But I've never thought, I need toothpaste, I'm going to go to the front desk.
If you have the Four Seasons, they give you like a big tube of toothpaste, not one of those phony mini jobs. Here's Blake. Throwing deep. And the ball hanging, and the pass is incomplete. And the crowd wants interference, offensive, and won't get anything.
Boy, did he get hit on that one just as he threw it by Anthony Hargrove. Is it right here? And again, you're going to see that he has the time, and just as he threw that, Hargrove hits him, and I think that's why the ball was a little short. Watch this. I mean, Hargrove is on his back, has his left arm and part of his right arm and shoulder.
Now the rule says if the first contact is tangled feet, there is no call. So the question now becomes, did their feet get tangled? And the non-call would be right. 2nd and 10, and now you've got the clock ticking down and a timeout call.
Delay a game.
No,
offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That happens quite a bit. You know, when you get your third quarterback in there, it's going to happen. But after a long, incomplete pass, you don't get right back there, get in a huddle, and you wait for everyone to get in there, and then you don't get your play call up to the line of scrimmage, and you just run out of play clock.
2nd and 15. The ball is at the 22-yard line. Philly scored on its opening drive. Nothing since. Blake throws into traffic, and that's incomplete. Intended for L.J. Smith. 3rd and long. Let's go to Michele.
Well, before joining the Eagles this season, as you mentioned, Al, Jeff Blake played for 5 other teams, 114 career games, but never on Monday Night Football. So when the Eagles were down in Dallas in mid-November, when we were there for Monday Night Football, Coy Detmer and Donovan McNabb lobbied Andy Reid to let Blake come in the game. So Reid put the 3rd stringer in for 2 plays, and Blake was so thrilled he had all his teammates sign his cap. That was for 2 plays, Al. What do you think he'll do for a quarter?
For a quarter, he'll send the videotape to Canton.
I think the first thing you ought to try and do is win the game.
3rd down and 15. Reno Mahe. Well, if he wins the game, he's liable to wind up on the horse trailer, which is as good as going to Canton.
Right, and it won't be Coy Detmer.
Right.
Like I said last night, Donovan McNabb said, we want to get Coy Detmer on the horse trailer, and that's not going to happen. But there's something, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, at some point there's something wrong with this. I mean, I think that you have the best team in the conference playing a regular season game like this. I just don't think it's right.
Well, it's the vagaries of the playoff system and the seeding and all that as it's juggled by Sean McDonald and then gathered in, and there's a flag down.
I mean, I don't always agree with it in preseason. I mean, I don't think you can ever get to the point in the game where you're afraid to play. You know, where it gets to be a negative. I don't want you to play because you're going to get hurt. Because when guys start thinking that they're going to get hurt by playing the game, then they got to get out of the game.
And to stay sharp too. I mean, it's a month.
We have a member of the kicking team going out of bounds on the zone, number 89. The penalty is declined. First down.
Rams ball. Well, one Mr. Detmer did wind up on the trailer 2 years ago with a performance in San Francisco. The ESPN schedule concludes this Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern Time when the Dallas Cowboys face off against the New York Giants, and that'll be the final game of the 2004 regular season. Of course, the other New York team, the Jets, still very much in playoff contention and controlling their fate because they will be coming in here when will cement a playoff spot for the Jets. A loss, and they could still get in, but they would be in jeopardy of dropping out. First down from the 34-yard line. Bolger, turning his shoulders to avoid the sack, will take a step out of bounds at the 35-yard line.
That was one of those things that this is maximum protection. The reason there was no one open here for Bolger is he only had 2 men in the pass pattern. You see the tight ends blocking, you see the backs blocking, and he only has 2 guys running routes, so they aren't open, so then he has to wait and hold the ball and then eventually run. See, there's a receiver on one side, here's a receiver on the other side. He would have had that one on the no, there's the tight end blocking, the fullback blocking, and the tailback blocking.
Second down and 9. Jackson. Andy Reid, a great Monday night record. Andy 8-1, and if he can win the game tonight, he would become the current record holder. That record at the moment is owned by my partner, who was 11-1-1 in 13 appearances on Monday night.
Huh. I would go to heck. No, we love to play on Monday night. I mean, I felt, it was all about the players, and they always played well because I always felt they liked to show off.
Still do. 3rd and 11. Bolger throws, and that's into Eagle territory. Kevin Curtis makes the catch and then loses the football. And the Eagles will get it with Matt Ware recovering it. So that would have come close to, I don't want to say cementing it for the Rams, but they would have been driving. They already lead by 10, and now all of a sudden, here come the Eagles again. They'll start from about midfield.
Yeah, the pass protection did what they had to. Mark Bolger did what he had to. Kevin Curtis did what he had to initially, and then not at the end.
Todd Pinkston, you look at his numbers on the season. Of course, it's been an Owens-dominated receiving group for Philadelphia, but he will be a very key guy in terms of postseason play for Philadelphia this year. Thomas Tafoya comes in as the running back. 47-yard line, first down. 49-yard line. Gain of 2. Pinkston has been in the spotlight to an extent that I'm sure he doesn't appreciate. This play in Washington, which he contends was a ball he lost in the lights, and a lot of fans think he just shied away from contact. Subject much discussed in the city of brotherly love, without a lot of love.
I mean, maybe he did, but he's still their wide receiver. I mean, he's still their starting wide receiver on the opposite side of Terrell Owens when he's there, and he's going to be in there with Freddie Mitchell, and I mean, he still has to do it. And I'll tell you one thing, and it goes back to why they got Terrell Owens. When you have Todd Pinkston in there, every defense just plays him physically. And that's where they get the corners up there and they beat him because they don't think that that he can get away from the bump or the
illegal press.
Snap, center. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
And remember last year's championship game in Carolina, that's what they thought. I think that's where this emphasis rule came in, is they were just going to get up there and then just maul Pinkston. Just get on the line, don't let him off the line, don't let the receivers out. Then they get Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens would just run right through that. Now that they don't have them, I think defenses are going to go back to doing that to him.
And there's a sack fumble, and the Rams pick the ball up. Bryce Fisher with the sack, and Pisatino East Samoa recovers and runs it down to the 30-yard line for the St. Louis Rams.
There's Aeneas Williams. He likes that one. Bryce Fisher starts it. He runs right by Artis Hicks. Looks like Artis Hicks doesn't even get out of his stance. Here he is right here. Here's Hicks. Hicks doesn't even move. He's still standing on the line of scrimmage. Bryce Fisher goes right by him and gets that strip sack. Holy moly, I have no idea what Artis Hicks was thinking. I mean, he had to think it was on 3 and it was snapped on 1. I mean, he was still in his stance when Bryce Fisher was all over Jeff Blake.
Rams' first takeaway of the night, 15th in 15 games. They are way off last year's pace when they led the league with 46 takeaways. They have a third of that at this point, and Torrey Holt makes the catch and takes the ball to the 26-yard line. The Eagles get the break on the turnover and then turn it right back.
You know, the Eagles are playing backups, and I'm surprised that the Rams just don't blow them out here. I mean, you know, the Eagles aren't playing well because they're disorganized. They're not playing their regulars. Guys haven't played together. But the Rams, on the other hand, they have to win. There has to be some urgency here, and I don't think they're playing too well. I mean, they don't look like they're really going after it to get to be a playoff team.
And they have to win tonight and then beat the Jets next week as well. Steven Jackson will pick up the first down as he gets to the 20-yard line.
Let's go back to that Artis Hicks play again and just watch. Here he is here. And again, this is playing and not playing guard and tackle. But here the ball is snapped. Everyone's playing, and he's still in the stance. He never did get out of it. Now, I've never seen that before. I mean, guys get off late. They think it's on 2 and it's on 1. Those kind of things. But at some point, you get going.
Or you're daydreaming. I mean, that was bizarre. Steven Jackson, who was limping off earlier, and this time much more severely. So he comes off again, 1st and 10. That means Falk is in the backfield. Marshall has 52 yards tonight on 12 carries. Jackson 148, so the pair of them have 200 yards. Now they have 202.
One of the things I think Mark Bulger is doing is changing up his snap count because of those Eagle blitzes. You know that you're going to get a lot of blitzing when you play the Eagles, but you know you're really going to get a heavy dose once you get inside the 20 or the red zone, where the Rams are right now.
A little streak is in jeopardy right now. Marshall Faulk has not caught a pass tonight. He has at least 1 reception in 158 regular season games, longest ever by a running back, and the longest current streak in the league. And that's every game he's ever played with the Colts and the Rams. Flag again, a ton of jumping offside and false starts.
I think, again, that's Mark Bulger doing a good job with the snap count. You know, changing it up and going on a long count, making them declare their blitzes so the blockers can see where they're coming from.
95, defense lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, still, 2nd down.
See, again, you see him on that first hut. McDougal jumped on the first hut, and the ball was snapped on the 2nd hut. The thing you give, that strong hut, that first one, you give it strong, you kind of bob your head a little. McDougal hears it and maybe goes on the head bob, maybe just goes on that strong count.
What's the origin of hut? Why'd they pick the word hut?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's short for height. I think it used to be height, and then it was changed to hut, and then just kind of.
I'll buy that. Quick slant. 1st down. Isaac Bruce makes the catch. It'll be 1st and goal at the 5.
That's where Bulger is so good, getting that ball out of there quickly. Here's Isaac Bruce as the inside receiver. Is going to come here and just run this slant, and he does that as well as anyone. And you see when that corner or that defender is that far off, Bulger sees it and knows he's going to get back, and he's going to get that ball out of there right now. There was no one that was in position to make a play on it.
1st down and goal at the 5. The Eagles show blitz. Here they come, and that forces the quick pass, and so it's almost as if Bulger knows that Falk hasn't caught one, tries to get it to him and can't. Second down and goal.
Well, I know what he saw. He saw man-to-man out there, and I think that he was thinking that Marshall Falk was either going to run a fade or something outside, and Marshall Falk comes inside. Here he is out here. You see it's just man-to-man. He wants to throw it to him. Marshall Falk runs a slant, and Bulger threw it outside like he was running an out.
Second and goal from the 5. Falk pushed back 3-yard line, and there's another flag at the end.
Marshall Falk has the quickness and the cuts, but he doesn't have that finishing off like Steven Jackson has.
Matt Ware slow in getting up.
Holding. 44 offense. 10-yard penalty, still second down.
Joey Goodspeed.
He's the lead back or the fullback on that play. You see Joey Goodspeed is right here, and you see he's going to kind of come in and lead right there. Oh, that's a great block. Holy moly. Yeah. What the heck are they talking about here? You draw that up like that. Oh, I see it there. He had both hands behind him, didn't he? But that's the way you want. And when you can flatten someone on their back, that's what you want. But it looked like he did have both arms out.
Second down and goal from the 15-yard line. And Holt loses the football. And I think he's able to get it back himself. Ball comes squirting out. All of the Eagles surrounded it. And Holt reaches out and secures it for St. Louis.
I'll tell you one thing about Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. Once they catch the ball inside, they go down themselves. And this usually doesn't happen because they get down so quickly. That time Torrey Holt stayed up a little longer than he usually does, and the ball comes out of there.
Michael Lewis will be going to the Pro Bowl script, and it's a great play by Holt to reach out and get the ball and keep it in St. Louis's hands.
Yeah, you don't practice recovering fumbles on your stomach a lot.
Third down and goal from the 8-yard line. The fake, and Marshall Falk can't go anywhere, so they'll have to settle for a Wilkins attempt, which would make it a 13-point game.
Yeah, Mike Martz got a little conservative there. That's where they run that pump draw. He comes back and he fakes the slant. See him fake the slant, then comes back and hands on the draw. But if they're coming on a pass rush anyway and coming up the middle for Mark Bulger, they're going to be in the middle for the draw play.
Jeff Wilkins now a 29-yard field goal attempt. Missed one from 44. The make was from 28 just before the half. And it's a 13-point lead, but still just a 2-possession instead of 3-possession game, which would have clearly wrapped it up. 5:24 remaining in the fourth quarter. From St. Louis, Missouri. We picked this up a little late tonight. Donovan McNabb expected to play only briefly, wound up playing an entire series, 12 plays, 63 yards to a touchdown pass, and gets the rest of the night off. But since then, the Eagles 22 plays and 22 yards. And the Rams right now to the 13-point lead in a must-win situation as Wilkins kicks off. Roderick Hood. Back to the 37-yard line. So Philadelphia is still trying to pull one off and end the Rams season or postseason hopes, but it's going to be hard. 13-point game. ESPN Sports Center after the game from St. Louis. Flippity clop. I bet on that horse once.
He's still running for you.
Yes, he is. Here he comes.
He'll get there. Don't give up yet.
5:18 to play. 37-yard line. Blake. And runs for a nice game. You know, John, I'm thinking the Eagles are a little bit like, if you made a baseball analogy, the Oakland A's. A's have won 90 or more games 5 straight years, and they're the first of 17 teams not to get to the World Series in such a circumstance. And here are the Eagles, 3 championship games in a row, having to get to the Super Bowl. You take a look at that 5-year streak, 10 more wins without playing in the Super Bowl. There's a look at the A's. So there's Moneyball, and then there's out of the Moneyball. And of course, the Eagles hope to break their little stretch this year as Reno or Thomas Tafoya carries the ball, and another flag at the 44. And let's check in with Michele.
Well, the Eagles have 9 Pro Bowlers, as you've been mentioning, and guess what else, Al? They're going to have just over $15 million of salary cap room this offseason. In addition to that, they're going to have 5 draft picks in the first 3 rounds. I spoke with team president Joe Banner. He said, you know, the offseason goals are not set in stone yet, but he expects to have in the area of 19 of their 22 starters back, be in position to retain a lot of their own guys, and even make some additions. So the future looks bright in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and it's amazing, too, to think that you have a team, and they've been so good for a number of years now, and then they go out and they can afford a Terrell Owens and a Javon Curse, 2, you know, gigantic additions. And then there are other teams that are mired in the muck and tell you they can't afford.
And they're mired in the muck because of poor organizations. I mean, you talk about the Oakland A's in baseball, you talk about the Eagles, and these are good organizations, and those records of, you know, of winning and stuff, I take as a plus. You know, I know it's easy to say, yeah, but they haven't won a championship. And you know, if you look at, there's 32 teams in the league, and they're better than 29 and not as good as 2. So if you panic when you're not as good as 2 and you don't win that one, then I think you slide down. I think when you stay upbeat, and they've done it for 3 years, and what did Bum Phillips say? We're going to keep kicking on the door until we knock it down. I kind of have that same feeling about the Eagles.
You do, and it's pretty good, too, because you would think at some point you'd have that hangover that we all talk about when a team comes so close, and they come close for especially multiple times, and then all of a sudden, and how are we going to get this back together again? You know, and they've been able in Philadelphia to do it with tremendous consistency, and then they get down to that game in January.
Snap, false start, number 77. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
The Eagles played the Rams for the 2001 championship right here. And since that time, you can see the Eagles, a tremendous record. The Rams are only 4 over 500. And the Eagles this year, talking about Pro Bowl players, send 9, and the Rams send 1.
Yeah, the Eagles have been on the uptick, and the Rams are on a downtick.
And that would have clearly ended the game there, as Tommy Polley had a chance to pick it off but couldn't. 3rd and 15.
You know, you wonder how the Eagles are going to feel after this one. Remember last Monday night when we're at Miami and New England came in there. They only lost 1 game, and everyone was saying, you know, this is one of the best teams in all of football, and Miami beats them. And I'll tell you, it was a tough week for New England. Now, the way the Eagles are playing tonight, I don't know if it's going to be a tough week for them, but doggone, it's a regular season. A loss is a loss.
It's a loss, and now next week you've got another game that doesn't mean anything against Cincinnati. It doesn't even mean anything to Cincinnati as Blake throws deep, and with a jump ball there, it's incomplete, intended for Billy McMullen. Butler and Fisher converge. So with the Eagles, you know, you've got this game tonight. We've been talking about it throughout the course of the game. And then next week, Cincinnati, and then they're off. And then finally, the weekend of January 15th and 16th, they'll play a game that means something, and it's going to mean everything.
And then you hope when you have to turn it on that it comes on. I mean, I don't know that you can turn it off, shut it down.
Taken down on the open field at the 19-yard line. And there's a flag down.
Because I will say this, I mean, the Eagles shut it down.
There is no foul on the play for an illegal block in the back by the kicking team.
They've had 2 or 3 of those, haven't they, when they threw a flag and said, we're just kidding.
Yeah. After a penalty-free first quarter, tons of them since. Monday Night Football brought to you by Chrysler. Inspiration comes standard. Campbell's Chunky Soup with big chunks of meat and veggies. It fills you up right. and Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Pick Enterprise, and we'll pick you up. Old courthouse. Behind it, the arch, the Gateway Arch. Inside the dome now. A lot of the folks have gone home, feeling pretty confident about the Rams' chances. And in come the Jets next Sunday in a game that the Rams again will have to win and also get a little bit of help on the side to get to the playoffs. 19-yard line, first down. Essentially, they'll need a loss by either Seattle or Minnesota. And let's go to Michele.
Well, Al, we shouldn't be laughing because this is an injury report, but it's not serious, so a little levity's okay. But Steven Jackson has a bruised right knee. He's been on the bench. He's getting it iced. He's laughing and smiling. He's clearly done for tonight, but it doesn't appear to be anything serious. But we wanted to make sure that people knew. Bruised right knee, and while he won't return tonight, it doesn't look to be too serious. I can't imagine him staying out for next week, but we can't predict those things, right?
Exactly right, and it's a short week, too, because it's a Monday night game going to Sunday, so he has one less day to get to 100%. Second down and 11. And Bulger's going to take off and slide to a stop, rather awkwardly, but he does. Well, it's our 35th year of Monday night. It's our final game. We're going to roll a credit package at the end with all the great folks that help us every week, led by our esteemed producer, Mr. Fred Godelli, our executive producer, Mike Pearl, and our core little group up here with Melissa Horton running the kennel, Mark Putnam and Phil Sanfilippo every week, and up here, Audrey Mansfield, Brad Curtis.
The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over. Believe it. And tomorrow and next year start the same old thing again.
And this show's been on for 35 years.
35 years, amazing.
We've survived a lot.
Great years. I remember when Monday Night Football first started.
Where you going, man?
I think there was a real boom at that time for the NFL.
3rd and 8. Wobbly pass that almost gets picked off, and another penalty.
That's going to be one for a late hit, too. I'll tell you one thing about Mark Bulger. He's a tough guy. He never complains and takes a lot of late hits. Like Mike Martz has been trying to get him to complain.
97 defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
97, we're talking about Darwin Walker, who had been a defensive tackle in the last couple of weeks. They're playing him at defensive end. You see he's 97 there. He starts on the outside, goes on a stunt. Yeah, and then, I mean, he hit him late. He grabbed him around the head and threw him to the ground. He did about 3 things that he could have been flagged on right there. Sometimes as a defensive lineman, you come on that stunt and you break free and you see the quarterback there and you know when that ball goes out of there you have to stop, but doggone it, your instincts argue with you.
You know, Bulger that time, he's been out for 2 full games and most of a third with that sprained right shoulder. So I'm sure Martz's heart was in his throat. Bulger unfortunately fell on his left shoulder that time.
Yeah, and usually the way you get that is you get hit on the left shoulder and then you get driven into the turf on your right shoulder. And that was just the opposite shoulder, as you say there.
Philly has to take a timeout defensively, try to conserve some clock and get it back. From my boys, George Hill from Port Angeles, Washington, Malibu, Kelly Hayes. They finish up a 19th year with me in the booth.
19 years?
And not only that, we did about 7 or 8 years of as well. AFC playoffs, Pittsburgh, New England 1 and 2, Indy 3, San Diego 4. They're locked into those positions. Jets would be the 5 seed right now, and they can secure that with a win here at St. Louis, or they could even be out of the playoffs. And then Denver plays Indy. Denver right now would hold the tiebreak over Buffalo, so Denver gets to the playoffs if they win. Second down and 10, 36-yard line as Bolger throws, caught on a slant, and Bruce loses the ball, and then it's picked up initially by a Ram, and then apparently as Keith Adams comes in for the hit, the Rams still recover the football.
And maybe that's why these two wide receivers of the Rams always go down when they catch a ball inside, because when they don't go down, they fumble. We see Isaac Bruce do it here. We saw Holt do it before. Here comes Bruce. He catches that ball on that slant, and usually by now he'll go down. He'll take the turf. He didn't take the turf. He took the hit.
He had 2 at the Monday night game in Green Bay. He had 4 in the last 7 games. Matt Ware with the hit. Keith Adams punched it out, but Torrey Holt comes in to recover, and that's the second fumble that Torrey has recovered in this period.
Well, Mark Bolger has been very effective tonight. He, had been out for a couple of weeks and isn't rusty at all. He threw a little on Monday, then didn't throw again till Thursday. We talked to him yesterday. His shoulder really didn't feel well, but he said, once I get out there and the adrenaline starts flowing, I'm going to be okay. And I think he's doing very well. He doesn't have a lot of velocity on it, but as I said earlier, I think his accuracy has been great tonight.
3rd down and 5 from the 41-yard line. Marshall Faulk up to the 45. Philadelphia out of timeouts.
And the Rams out of Steven Jackson. I mean, this would be a time when you would have liked to have had Steven Jackson in there running that. I mean, not Marshall Faulk at the end of the game. I think Marshall Faulk was probably thinking that too, that this would be Steven Jackson's time, Steven Jackson's situation. But as Michele said, he has a knee injury and isn't going to be playing any tonight.
Jackson, most since Bettis with the LA Rams as a rookie in '93. Philly can't stop the clock. Rams let it tick down to the 2-minute warning. Send in the punting unit. And we're 120 seconds from the close with St. Louis on top 20-7 over the Eagles. Our executive producer, the esteemed Mike Pearl, Bob Toms, the senior producer, the boss man, Fred Godelli, hardest working guy in show business, Drew Esikoff, our director, Steve Hurt, the greatest of all time, Joe Abenda. Nary a knuckle job this year, Joey. Mark Titleman, Valerie Fisher, Dave Chamberlain. A lot of folks go into the making of this sausage every week. Steve Nagler and the whole gang working around the clock, traveling all over the country, crisscrossing. Well, I know they do it in a lot of businesses, but we're just proud to death of the folks who put on Monday Night Football every week.
Yeah, it's my 3rd year and 3rd very enjoyable year. I mean, being with you and with this whole group that we see here. These are, as you say, hard-working people, but there's a lot of hard-working people, but dedicated, enjoy it, and just have fun with everything. It's been a very, very enjoyable 3 years.
Fantastic. Can't think of anything that could be any more enjoyable than being a part of this. As Kevin Stemke sends it down to the 13. Fair caught there by Dexter Wynn. We always give a Rookie of the Year award, Michele Tafoya. A phenomenal job. Just great. I think she set a new standard. You've been fantastic. I've talked to the powers that be. They're going to give you a little time off right now. We got before basketball. Yeah, you get 6 or 7 days.
That's good. Well, I'm honored by that, Al. Mostly the time off more than the Rookie of the Year thing. It's been great. You guys, you're the best. What can I say? This entire crew is phenomenal. It's for a first year, it's just been a dream. I mean, everyone, like you said, works incredibly hard. This is just the best job a gal could have.
Beginning of a long run for you. This is going to be terrific as Jeff Blake goes back to pass and has his arm hit. Tommy O'Connell, I guess, is the senior member of. There is Tommy, who's been around for a lot of those. 29 of the 35. I have to give Tommy away here. He's a Giants fan. He's an unbelievable New York Giant like maniac. And he has a camera positioned at the Super Bowl in Tampa as the Giants against Buffalo, and Norwood's kicking the field goal to win the game. And Tommy, at that point, he can't even look. He sets the camera. He won't even look to the viewfinder. He closes his eyes, and all I said was, no good, wide right. And Tommy started crying. It was some scene.
He opened his eyes to cry, huh?
Yeah, right. L.J. Smith drops it.
Now, I don't think there's any place that any of us would rather be on Monday night.
Yep. Burner. Dave Bushner right there. Vandy. Yeah, man, right there. Got to go by all the nicknames. Big Mark. And the Zaxter, always wearing shorts.
It looks just like Andy Reid.
Yeah. 2nd and 15. Freddie Mitchell. Up to the 29-yard line. Dana. Happy New Year.
I was down on the field talking to Tammy Reid, Andy's wife, before the game, and pointed out Zach, and I said, who's he look like? She says, my husband.
Thomas Tafoya. Tammy Reid told me before the game last year, Andy looks, he's a football coach, and if you don't know him, I mean, he's got a great heart. He actually gave his wife a ring last year for Christmas. Blake's pass is incomplete. And how sweet is this? Andy got down on his knees and renewed his vows as he gave her the ring.
That's great. He's a great guy. There's Tammy Reid right there with. She's wearing a lot of stuff that glistens tonight too.
Oh yeah.
You see that wave there? That's what she got for Christmas. That's a what do they call those things? I think it's a diamond bracelet is what it is.
Got a bracelet, yeah. She's got that NBA look, just the one earring.
Well, knowing Tammy, she lost the other one. en route to her seat.
False start, number 66, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
I think what Tammy would really want is for the next piece of jewelry to go to Andy on his ring finger.
Yes, that big one. That's what they're all in it for.
Well, he's going to keep the wedding ring on, and then a Super Bowl ring, I guess, would go on the right ring finger, right?
Yes. Now, Andy got down on his knees.
That's what Tammy told me before the game. That's my source. I mean, I have reliable sources.
The story would be how he got up.
It's Paul Harvey would say, that's the rest of the story. Thomas Tafoya up to the 39-yard line. Post-game show, the horse trailer. Highlights and interviews. There you go.
Tammy Reid.
The whole collection here tonight.
It's glistening all over.
You know what Tafoya is the injured Eagle. Injury here. 10 seconds comes off the game clock. An injury in this situation. Look at how he gets hurt right here. 4 Rams come into the play.
That's tough. I mean, that's one of the things, but you see it happen on all kinds of turf and grass now that, the foot gets caught in the turf and then you get hit, and the only thing that can go is a joint.
NFC playoff recap right now. Those teams are still alive. 2 of the 4 will be playing in the wild card round. Only the Vikings control their own fate. In other words, if they win at Washington, that's it. Minnie's in. The Panthers get in with a win over New Orleans and either a Seattle win or loss by either the Rams or the Vikings. The Panthers have an okay chance, and they play the Saints this week. Loser is definitely out there, and if they beat Carolina and the Rams lose or the Vikings and the Seahawks win. I know this is when we get into the old Irwin Corey thing, but just filling it out for you journalistically here. The Rams get into the playoffs. They have to beat the Jets, and either the Panthers or Saints tie, which is highly unlikely, or a loss by either the Vikings or the Seahawks. And if they win and the Seahawks lose, the Rams not only go in as a wild card, but they would go in as a division champion and get a home game in the wild card round.
So you can either think about all that stuff or just stay tuned Sunday night and someone will tell you what's happening.
Yeah.
So by Sunday night we'll know.
You'll know by Sunday night.
Right.
Because the Sunday night game doesn't figure in the equation, so you'll know by late Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Orlando Pace. Be pretty interesting because, you know, the Eagles with Terrell Owens would be a big favorite. Atlanta is the 2nd seed. You would think Philadelphia would be in terrific shape. But I think the whole equation now becomes a little more muddled without the big guy.
Yeah, but I still think if you say, okay, it's not Philadelphia, then who is it? I mean, you say it's Atlanta?
Well, there's Michael Vick, and they've been keeping him out. And then you've got Green Bay, and you know, you never know what you're going to get out of the Packers. They can look brilliant at times. Mike Holmgren has the Seahawks in the playoffs for a 2nd consecutive year. The Vikings, of course, have a chance to get in as a wild card. What a job John Fox has done, taking that team from 1-7 to a possibility. The Saints, of course. In the meantime, now you've got a scene here where Tafoya, one of the backup running backs, has to go off on a cart. So of all things, with just 28 seconds left in this game,
the way the backups are getting injured tonight, the starters are going to have to play next week. But what I think the whole thing with the Eagles, I mean, they lose Terrell Owens, and you can say that the wide receivers have to do that. I think it's going to be Brian Westbrook is going to take Terrell Owens' play, you know, as a big play guy. And then I think Donovan McNabb, if you watch Donovan McNabb, he doesn't want to be a runner, but in the big game, you know, when you need to win, he'll run then. And I think that's what you have to defend. You know, say it's Brian Westbrook for the big plays, and he's going to have to make big plays in the passing game. And it's Donovan McNabb. Remember last week, here he is against Dallas, and they were kind of flopping around, and they were behind, and it got to the point, you know, where they had to go win the game, and this is what he does. You know, I know that he doesn't want to be a runner, and he doesn't want to be known as a runner, but when you get to that point where you have to win the game, to me, offensively, it's going to be this guy or Brian Westbrook.
And you know, we're always talking about the Eagles and what they're going to do offensively, but you know, and then it's almost like you don't even look at the other side of the ball. But Jim Johnson's defense coming into the game leading the league in fewest points allowed per game.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about that earlier, which is really a pretty good combination where you have an aggressive defense that doesn't give up big plays or scores. I mean, you know, the other one is you know, we laugh about every new defensive coordinator comes in, we're going to be more aggressive, and then they blitz like heck and they get beat with bombs and big plays. This team here blitzes like heck but doesn't get beat by big plays.
Well, they've got to take Tafoya off on a play that, you know, it's one of those plays where it just doesn't look that serious or dramatic, but you get contorted, and I don't have to tell you, in ways that won't happen to you in most other forms in life, and you just get twisted and angled the wrong way, and the next thing you know, what looks to be a fairly mundane play turns out to be this.
I mean, there's a lot of legs in there and a lot of getting caught up, and that's it. I mean, I think it's probably that foot getting caught in the turf, and then the pressure coming from the other guys, and the only thing that give her the joints.
Yep. Now Michele is down there, and I'm sure.
Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid is right there, and he's come out in the field. Here's Andy right here.
It's about the worst sight in sports. You've got the truck out there and the paramedics and the training staff, and all to the rest and gingerly put him on the cart.
And what I think he's doing is just going out there to check to see how Tafoya's doing, and then he's talking to his coaches and telling them. You can see Andy there is telling his other coaches what he sees.
Trying to immobilize
Donovan McNabb out there with him now.
So let's go. Michele, what do you know about this?
Initially, Al, the training staff, the medical staff appeared to be looking at Tafoya's knee more closely than anything else. But as you can see, they've come out and stabilized his whole body, wrapped his legs together and stabilized his whole body to that board that they're taking him off on. And John, for a knee injury, you don't see that happen very often. So obviously, we don't know the full extent of this yet. We'll let you know if we do find out before the end of the broadcast.
You can see him, knees raised, immobilizing him to the greatest extent they can. Obviously, his arms moving, and let you know what we know before we go off the air.
Well, and and so much of this is precautionary now. You're not going to take any chances. You do whatever you have to make sure that whatever it is, it doesn't get any worse. And all the stadiums now have X-ray equipment, so they can get in and X-ray it right away.
Well, they put Mahe back in the game, and Reno Mahe will take it to the 45-yard line, and that's going to write a finish to this one. So the Eagles will lose only their second game of the year. The other was to Pittsburgh. Rams stay alive in the playoff hunt. Philly lining up quickly to try to get one more playoff before the end of the game, and they will, and it's a spike. Not sure why.
And there's 1 second left because the spike stopped the clock. It's kind of a fitting ending to this game, isn't it? I'm still not sure exactly what we saw.
No, me neither. I mean, it started out pretty good considering the circumstances. Each team driving for a touchdown, and then it had the look of a game in August.
And I just don't like the idea that any team in the regular season can win or lose because they want to or don't want to.
Final play of the game, barring a defensive foul, and the Eagles will fly home with a mark of 13-2. Rams stay alive in the playoff hunt as St. Louis knocks off Philadelphia 20-7. Coming up next, the Autotrader.com postgame show.